What's going on, guys, gals, and everything in between? You are on the sidelines with the Sideline guys. I'm Chris.
I'm Derrick, and we are being joined with one of our returning guests, Damien, who is a phenomenal sports mind. You guys, I'm pretty sure if you guys watched that episode a couple, what was that? A couple months back now.
Yep,
Yeah, I'm a
time
couple months
Jesus,
flies.
now.
time
Yeah.
is flying, man. Yeah. So I guess if you guys watched that one, you already know who this is, Damian Adams. Welcome back to the show, brother.
Thank you for having me, man. It's an honor to
Yes,
be
sir.
back. It means I did a decent job the first time, so I'm glad to be back.
Hell yeah, man.
Yes,
Way better
sir.
than decent. Way better than
Oh yeah.
decent.
Oh yeah. We could have
I
spent another
appreciate it.
hour on that episode.
Yes, sir. And I got a feeling tonight's going to be like that too. We're going to probably end
Yeah.
up here long as always, but can't complain when we're discussing the shit we love, right?
Oh yeah, for
So,
sure.
Oh, for sure.
man, we're in the thick of playoffs right now, so there's a lot to talk about on that front. Schedules got dropped today, but we're not like these other
Yes.
shows. Everyone's
Yes.
talking about, oh, what's the game you looking at? No, we're not doing that this week. This week, we're talking about what's most important. I know all of you guys who watch and are fanatics for the NFL are a big part of fantasy football, and we figured why not cover that? Why not talk a little bit about our fantasy ideas coming into this season? And there's no better way to do it than to do a mock draft. So I am live. I wish that we could put this up again. This is something that I always hate that we can't do, but I'm live right now. I'm
Hmm.
gonna go put into a randomizer who's gonna get the first pick,
Okay.
and then from there we'll go to the right. And obviously it'll be
Nice.
snake. So it'll come back around after that third pick. Well, everyone's first pick technically.
Okay.
Um, so
Ooh,
let
I
me
like
get
that.
this in right. Right.
I like that.
It's only right. All right. So let me put these names in. I was gonna do CDD, but you guys sharing that. All right. So we're all set. I'm spinning it. Let's see who gets the first pick. Damn, I was praying. I'm like, I pray it's not me because then people are gonna call collusion. But it is me. I got the first pick, and everyone's probably side eyeing at home, like, yeah, all right. But
Hey man, ain't nothing wrong with that.
it's only right. So let's start this thing off right. Who am I gonna use for the first pick? So I'm gonna start by saying I hate getting the first pick. I'd much
Yeah.
rather be in a position where I'm able to choose who's the best of what's available versus
Mhm.
starting it off. But
Technically,
I'm
you
gonna
are choosing who is the best available. You're just the first to choose.
exactly, but that's way more pressure, and I hope you understand that. Way more pressure. There's so many ways that could go wrong, and then I'm leaving value for you guys.
Yeah,
But
yeah, you
I
are.
gotta
You
say,
are.
with my first pick, I'm discounting injury, man. It's a new season. We're coming into
Ooh.
this fresh, and I think their situation over in the team that this person plays with plays a big factor into why they're going to be my number one pick, and that is Derrick Henry. There's a lot of things
Mhm.
going on in Tennessee, and I just love to see your reaction because I know that it's the right pick. There's a lot of things going on, not just with their situation as far as being the number one seed and returning and trying to live up to that, but they blew
Mhm.
up the team in a lot of ways. So there's a lot of big
Yeah.
changes, and I think the way I'm justifying my pick is A, there's going to be some sort of increase because obviously there's pieces missing across the board. And then
Hmm.
B, I think he's going to be a lot more involved in the passing game as well. Obviously, losing AJ Brown is a huge hit, no matter how you try to slice it. Of course, revel in it while you can. But I think there's going to be big production out of Derrick Henry this year. There always is. But
Yeah.
I think that little bit more of receptions in the passing game is really going to put him over the edge. So that's my number one pick. Derek, you're up next. But please,
Ooh.
before we go on, how do you guys feel about that? I saw you was upset, Derek. Is that a good pick or not?
That's an excellent pick, man. That's who I was going to choose if I had gone first. So, yeah, that's an excellent pick. I love it.
Awesome. What about you, Damien?
I'm not sure about Derrick Henry having the same type of production this year compared to his last few years. And of course, last year was cut short with the injury, but he was on pace for another 2,000-yard year
Hmm.
because without AJ Brown, without any other, who are they on the outside? Who are you scared of at all for Tennessee right now?
Yeah.
Like, there's
Yeah.
nobody on the outside that you're thinking about.
Yeah, Robert
So
Woods
as
going
much as
1.5.
people pack the box for Derrick Henry, it's gonna be even more this year. Like they might put 11 in the box with Derrick Henry this year. Like they're not gonna be scared of anybody coming out on the outside. So I think Derrick Henry might take a slip down in production. Now, of course, he's a monster. He's still
Mm,
going to be productive, but I don't see him having that crazy type of pace that he had last year pre-injury.
And I like
that's
it.
a
I just
fair
want to make
point.
it clear. If you come on this show, you think cozying up to us is going to get you back here? Hell no. I want to hear how you think. And that's an awesome take on it. Didn't even consider it that way because I'm just like
Yeah,
he
me
needs to
either.
do more. So good shout
Yeah.
on that. But our second pick, the commission is up. Let's go, Derek.
Oh man. Um. Ooh. You know what? I think Christian McCaffrey has a resurgence this year.
Ooh.
I think he has a resurgence this year. I mean, and he should. You know what? Hold on. Maybe not. I forgot about last
Wow.
year.
How dare
Maybe
you?
not. Never mind. Let me not even choose him. I'm gonna go Jonathan Taylor. Bump that. Like,
I
cause
was so excited when you said Christian McCaffrey. I was like, Jonathan Taylor's coming this way.
I'm sorry, because I forgot about last year, man. He got banged up real fast. Um,
He did.
yeah. So I'm gonna go the safer route. I'm gonna go Jonathan Taylor. I think Indianapolis is going to be phenomenal this year. Just with switching Carson Wentz and Matt Ryan, I think they're going to have a lot more dynamic plays. Let me say it like that. And I think with that being the case, um, I think Jonathan Taylor's just going to get better. I think he's just going to look better this year. Um, I still think Julio's going there. I still
It's a
think
good
Julio's
shout.
going there. I don't. I mean, we don't know where he is right now, but I think he's still going to go there. But I think his best days, his prime, is behind him. But with just that threat right there, you never know the short game what he's going to be able to do. So they have phenomenal receivers right now. I mean, Zach Pascal is no longer there, but I think they're still going to have a phenomenal passing game. So I'm going to go ahead and take the safe route and say Jonathan Taylor.
I
Okay.
like it. I just want to say real quick. Imagine they did that at the NFL draft. Like, actually, wait. Hold on. Send them back. Send them back. That's not our pick. That's hilarious. But yeah, good pick. I agree. When I saw Jonathan Taylor, I knew Damien was grinning ear to ear because I'm like, to get that
Mhm.
and on
Yeah,
the wheel, like that's
yeah,
huge.
Yeah.
yeah.
But great pick, Derek.
Yes,
Yeah. No, that was a good callback for sure. Because when you said Christian McCaffrey, I was like, I was so excited to get
yeah.
Jonathan Taylor.
Well, see, and
So nah.
I said McCaffrey because of the fact that I think what they're gonna do is try and utilize him a little more. You know, I think they're not done in Carolina anyway with building up, so I think they're gonna still get at least another a receiver there that's gonna be possibly be a threat. And we don't know. Answer me this: is Cam Newton coming back? Because I hear
We
everybody
don't
talking about Sam
know.
Darnold. I don't hear anyone talking about Cam Newton.
Yeah, I don't know if they're gonna bring him back. I didn't see much left in his game last year. Seemed like a guy that was done. But if anybody does bring him back, it'll be Carolina. You know, the franchise that he helped so much. But I don't see much there for him to be
I
productive.
actually
Really,
disagree with that. I think
you do.
yeah, I think what we saw last year was more so of what we saw with Sam Darnold. You remember when how he was looking at the beginning of the season, looked phenomenal.
Hmm.
You know what really helped him with that? Christian McCaffrey was blocking. When he went down, that team looked
Yeah.
horrible. That offense wasn't moving anywhere. He wasn't able to get a lot of stuff going, and so you insert Cam Newton into that. It's the same thing, just a black man. so so that's what I think. I think he still got it. I think he still has something left in the tank. And I'm
Hey,
expecting him to get
I
picked
hope
by
you're
someone.
right. I hope that I'm wrong and Cam Newton still does have some left in the tank, but I just didn't
Yeah,
see much.
yeah.
And I agree with you on that, Damien. Real quick, I just gotta say, Derek is the resident black QB supporter, and I love it. Whether
Well,
it's right, listen, hear me out. Whether it's Cam Newton or the goat. I'm gonna let you tell him. I'm gonna let you tell him who's the goat, the one that we had a live wager on this show on, which I can't wait to see how that pans out.
Yeah,
And you know why
Kaepernick.
I'm asking you, right? Yeah, Cap the
Yeah,
goat.
yeah,
Yeah, you're the number one. I respect it. I respect it.
yeah, yeah. Well, see, here's the thing. Like it's more so just because I can see other angles with it than it just being what the main narrative has been with those two guys. I think there's still something there. Do I think they're that they are what they were years ago? No. You can't play in the way they've been playing, but I think they still have something there. If Blaine Gabbert can still be in the league,
But
Yeah,
dude,
no,
doesn't it
Cam could
say
still be in
something
the
to you?
league for sure.
Go
Yeah.
ahead, Dame.
yeah,
Sorry about that.
Oh, no problem. I was like, Cam could still be in the league for sure. Like I just saw that Nathan Peterman is still getting paid. Like so,
yeah, yeah,
Cam
yeah,
Cam could still be in the league for sure. I'm
yeah.
just not sure about the starting quarterback having a winning impact if that's still left for Cam. But like I said, I hope I'm wrong. I want to be on the committee of Black QB supporters with you. I just, but so sometimes I just gotta call it like I see it.
hmm
Thank you. And I've always
I
been
feel
that
that.
guy on the show, and
I
I
feel
hope it
that.
doesn't come off as me being like not for that because I'm fully for that.
Oh, you
It's just
are.
about the
You are.
production. It's about the
Yeah,
production,
Yeah.
baby. And
yeah.
that's what I always try to bring it back to. But anyway, um, third pick. It's time. Real quick, sorry, I forgot. I wanted to say this bad. Shout out C. Lou on Twitter. If he heard what you said about them picking up the Colts picking up another wide receiver, he's going nuts right now watching this show. So shout out to C. Lou on Twitter. Please, Damien, take it away.
My guy, see Lou right there. So for the third pick, I'm gonna go ahead and take Dalvin Cook. I just love him as a running back. He's always productive. He might miss a couple games throughout the year, but he's been more healthy than not the last couple seasons. So if he gives
Yeah.
you 13, 14 games in the right spots, you're good
hmm
to go. And I love somebody who's going to get touches no matter what. No matter how bad the offense is doing, Dalvin Cook's going to get at least 20 touches in that offense between catching and running the ball. So he's going to have a chance to be productive every week. So give me Dalvin Cook.
Yes, sir.
Nice. Nice. I'm not gonna lie, that wasn't the first name that came to mind. So I'm really interested to see if you go with another RB here.
Okay. Let's see here. Back to back.
No pressure. No pressure.
All right. So I feel like this running back's going to have a big year just because of this team kind of making a transition in their franchise. So I'm going to go with Najee Harris. I think
Oh,
he's going to have a big year.
yeah.
They improved the offensive line. Now, quarterback wise, they're kind of in limbo there with Trubisky, now bringing in the rookie. So whoever
hmm
it is, they're going to want to lean on that running back. A lot of screen passes, handing off the ball, short passes. So I think Najee Harris is going to have a big year.
Nice. Whew.
Don't talk about them Steelers. No, I'm joking. I agree with you 100%. I think he's gonna definitely see a bump, and he did awesome last year too. And it was a sneaky season because a lot of other
Yeah.
rookies really balled out. So not a lot of
Yeah,
people took notice of what he was able to do over there in Pittsburgh. So I like it.
yeah. No, I agree with that. I'm gonna go with who I thought Damien was gonna go with. I'm going Alvin Kamara.
Mm. See, I didn't want to go Homer, so I just went
Nah,
with the
hey,
two
go Homer if you want, bro. Ain't no shame in that. I go Homer. Going Alvin Kamara though.
I like it.
Yeah,
I
that's a great
like it,
pick.
Yeah, yeah. I
especially
think
because of the receptions.
yeah,
Mhm.
and you gotta bring Michael Thomas back into everything. He's gonna have to get back into play shape. So I think they're gonna rely on the run game a little bit. You have a new head coach there now. I don't know. Do you know who his I mean how his offense runs? If it's run heavy or not?
Well, we're going to have the same offensive coordinator as we had last year.
Okay,
So I imagine it's going to look a lot like the Sean Payton offense, but of course they're going to have their own things and make it their own. But that foundation is still going to be there for the Sean
same
Payton
thing.
offense.
Gotcha. I'm definitely going Alvin Kamara then.
I like it. Now, I'm not gonna lie. My pick is definitely influenced by the fact that typically it's a two RB league. So might as well get since I got two back to back. I might as well get this one out of the way.
Yeah.
Cooper Cup, baby.
Oh,
Huge pick in my opinion for the value I'm getting him at. And yeah, man, super productive, the most productive wired out last year, and I don't see that stopping, especially because they got even more weapons for that team. So
Mm-hmm.
Cooper Cup.
I hate you did that.
Oh man, and you know what I love even more? That all of y'all faded the GOAT. It's only right, man. It's only right. He may be injured pretty often, but peak, I would argue there's not a better fantasy player in the league, and that's Christian McCaffrey. That's a Derrick Henry, Christian McCaffrey, and Cooper Cup. I think I'm winning
Mm-hmm.
this league. I'm just saying.
That's a good shot.
It's a mean threesome for sure.
That is very nice. I ain't gonna lie. Oh man. Um. Ah, I'm going to. I'm gonna take Jamar Chase.
Ooh.
Nice. Wow.
Yeah.
Over AJ. That's interesting.
Well, hold up. Don't do that. I
Don't take it back. You can't take back two
no,
picks in
I'm
the
not.
same
I'm not.
draft, bro.
I'm not. I'm not. I'm not. I'm sticking with who I'm sticking with, but that's not the reason why. I God, I don't want to give strategy away.
You have to. That's why we're
It's
here.
not, but it's
Yeah.
not that I don't want AJ Brown. Okay, part of my thing is I don't like choosing guys on my team so early. The draft is worked out for me because they ultimately tend to fall, and I think it's because people feel however they feel about the QB at the time or the team in general. And they look at the Eagles and say, "Oh, they're not as good as the Cowboys," stuff like that. So that kind of drives the value down to where you can get a high value real low, real late. So yeah, I think narrative plays a big part in how these players fall. But yeah, I'm a good Jamar Chase on that one though.
Nice.
Okay.
All right, Damien, you're up.
All right. So I probably wouldn't have this opportunity in the actual league with like 10, 12 players, but with just us three, I get this
Yeah.
opportunity to really ball out and go for my flex really early. So
Ooh.
for my flex guy, go ahead and give me Nick Chubb. Look,
Ooh.
absolute monster. You got to think this year, if Deshaun Watson's playing, it's going to open up so much more for the running game because you actually have to make sure you're
Mhm.
covering everything on the outside. Nick
Mhm.
Chubb's going to have another monster year. So look, think about the production I already have with Dalvin Cook, with Najee Harris, and now Nick Chubb.
Yeah.
Shoot, that production right there is going to cover me in so many weeks, especially if one has an off week, the other two going to cover for it. So I like what
Yeah.
I'm doing so far. I like my team so far.
Yeah, man.
That's nice.
Covering your bye weeks too. That's something that I'm
Yeah.
absolutely terrible at. Like, I think the first
Really?
league I ever did, I had like 4 dudes with the same bye, and my cousin's like, "Bro, what are you doing?" Like, and I'm like, "But do you see the team I got, bro?" He's like, "But you're losing week 7, bro." And I'm
Yeah.
like, "You know what?
Yeah. You can
You're
sacrifice
right."
1 week. Yeah.
Yeah, you can say that's the thing. If you can sacrifice a week if your team is balling.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Last year I drafted Josh Allen and um Stafford, Matt Stafford, and I think they both had a week. If I'm not mistaken, I think that was a week 7 bye. So that week sucked, but yeah,
That's tough
Was
when
it a
it's
two
when
QB
it's the
league?
quarterback.
uh-huh. Yeah,
That makes
yeah,
sense.
yeah.
That makes
No,
sense.
no, I'm sorry. It wasn't 2 QB league. It was my that was my backup though.
Dude, hell of a
Matt
backup.
Stafford was my
Yeah.
backup, so yeah, it sucked, but oh well.
All
I
right,
just got to
so
say
it,
real quick, I hate
yeah.
1 QB leagues. Like, I really hate them.
I've never
Um,
done them. I mean, you talking about just like no backup at all?
no, no, no. Like, where you only start one. I enjoy leagues where you're able to start 2 QBs.
I've never done that.
Super fun.
Yeah, me
I've
Super
either.
never
fun.
done two.
Yeah, you got to try it out. It's real fun.
That feels so weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many points are you scoring? Like almost like 2-3,000 a week.
Yeah. Big points for sure.
Jesus, man.
Big points for sure. And surprisingly, most of it doesn't come from the QB position. But I like those combos anyway. But
Yeah.
so I realized that I said we're going to the 10th pick, but we might as well run this to the 12th, so that we each get 4 players. So
Yeah.
Damien, this is the 10th pick. You're up again.
Okay, I am up again. And this guy that I'm about to pick now has been super productive during his career, has already broken records in Minnesota. I think he's going to continue to gritty up and down the field. Give me Justin Jefferson.
I love it. I love it. All right.
Ooh, okay. So since we're only doing four each, that just changed my strategy all the way up because I was gonna do one of my flex players. But since you said we only get four each, I'm going Josh Allen. I need a QB. I need someone to throw something to. you
I
know.
like that.
So I'm gonna go Josh Allen. So I got Josh Allen, Jonathan Taylor, Alvin Kamara, Jamar Chase.
Hey,
And I'm not
before
gonna
you go,
lie.
Chris,
Go ahead, Damien.
Say it again.
I just had a question for you. Like, if you're in a one QB league, are you
Mm.
pro going QB early, like going QB late?
I go QB a little later, mainly because like the value is more so with the wide receivers and running backs, right? Like you can get a great value QB depending on how deep your league is. I only play in like 10 to 12.
Yeah.
Those are usually the ones I play in. But I mean, with those, I think I could still get a great QB. Like I think I got Aaron Rodgers one time in like round 6 or 7. Like you don't have to, choose a QB so early, but because we only get four here, I'm going with the highest rated one.
For sure. And it makes sense why you asked that. I think this happens in any sort of draft you do, and I know this
Yeah.
because I'm in a lot of I talk to Derrick about this often, but I'm in a lot of Pokemon draft leagues, which are fire by the way. But in any draft you do, if
Yeah.
someone goes QB, then it becomes a QB
Every
rush. So everyone
yeah,
Yeah.
starts trying to pick up because they're trying to
Yeah.
make up for that. I
yeah.
tend to keep it towards the end, but in a two QB league, you kind of got to
Yeah.
ride the wave. In
Hmm.
one QB leagues, I definitely try to go fourth pick QB. But whenever I'm in a one QB league and I see someone take like Patrick Mahomes as the fifth pick, I'm like, oh, you smoking, bro? You
Yeah,
smoking?
yeah.
I need some of that
Well, I think Mahomes is actually going to go down this year in
for sure.
terms of where you're picking him, right? Mainly because
Yeah. No
Tyreek Hill's not
Tyreek Hill.
there.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I think we could see an uptick of Tua being drafted.
No way.
I think we could see an
I
uptick
was
of
gonna
that.
say.
I'm
I
not
think we're
saying
gonna
in
see an
that
uptick
same
in the
range.
states.
I'm not saying in that range.
I thought you were saying over Mahomes. I'm like,
No,
call the
no, 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 no,
cops
no, 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 no. Not in that range. I'm just saying I think the likelihood of Tua actually being drafted though, I think that's going to happen closer to like maybe I would say in a 10 to 12 team league, I would say maybe around like 9 or 10 someone could probably use him as like a backup because of Tyreek Hill being
Yeah.
there. I think that
I
value
can
is
see. Yeah, I definitely
very
can see him
high.
as a backup, but to
Yeah.
draft him to be your
Yeah.
starter when there's so many other
No, no,
options.
no. You're stupid if you do that. No.
Yeah.
No. I would never do that.
for sure.
There's gonna be
Especially
some
not
people
over
that do it
Jalen.
because they're like, oh man, they got
Those are gonna be
Waddle, they got
Dolphins fans
Hill.
though. Those
Yeah.
gonna be Dolphins fans, and that and I can't fault them for that. I think that's kind of like a little bias or whatever. You do your thing, but they're not winning the league doing that.
Mhm.
I want to win my league. I'm not drafting to
Or that's someone that went Tyreek Hill early and they want that bonus. And I feel them
See,
on
yeah,
that.
yeah.
yeah, yeah. That's different.
Yep.
Yeah.
So all right, you pick Josh Allen. It's my turn to finish it off. Now I was gonna do the same thing as you and go QB. But I'm not gonna do it. I'm gonna go value here, baby. And this name is probably gonna surprise you guys. It's probably not the first one you're thinking about, not the sexy name, but I'm going pound for pound, baby. Austin Eckler. I think he's gonna have a.
Okay.
I think he's had a sneaky great year the last 2 years, and he never
Yes.
gets talked
Yeah.
about because there's always big guns in that offense around him,
Hmm.
and a lot of big plays to go around between Mike Williams and Keenan Allen. So,
Yeah.
give me Austin Eckler. I think he's gonna be very productive as he always is, and get more
Hmm.
touchdowns given that their defense is going to be running teams off the field. So that's my thoughts
Yeah.
there.
See, I was going to choose Eckler
No.
if we were doing that was going to be my pick if we were doing a fuller draft. And once you said 4 picks, I'm like, I can't choose Eckler. I need a QB.
I respect it. Yeah.
So
Nah,
that's
I
a
like the pick
great
a
pick,
lot,
though.
man. Eckler's always productive, like you said, and they run that similar offense to the Saints, where he's playing that Alvin Kamara role, and he's
Mm-hmm.
going to get the passes, going to get he's going to get at least 15 to 20 touches per game. So it's
Yeah.
always about me. It's about chances to be productive.
Hell
Yeah.
yeah. And you like guys that have that fire too, even if and I know that doesn't factor into the stats, but when you're
Mm-hmm.
watching these games and you see someone that's being productive out there and they're turnt about it, like you get
Yes.
hype about it too. You're like, hell yeah, like
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
feeling that. So
Yeah.
No,
Quick
that's facts. You
question
want to
though.
root for somebody that you feel a connection with, and when they're fired up, you're like, okay, this dude cares. Okay, let that dude. Let me have him on my team so I can root for this dude getting these touchdowns. Like it definitely
Yeah,
matters for sure.
I
hell yeah.
agree
What
with
was you
that.
saying, Derek?
Quick question. Because the pattern that we're used to seeing with these drafts is Zeke usually within the top, I'd say top 5 picks, usually 5 to 8 picks in drafts, and no one even thought about him in this one. Um,
We saw the production flip last year, and we
yeah,
saw Tony Pollard getting more and more carries. And I think
yeah,
that's going to continue this year. Pollard
I
is
think
going to
so
be
too.
getting more and more. So I think Zeke could still be a productive pick for you if he's like a flex guy. So if you get him 6th, 7th, 8th round, and you're like,
Hmm.
okay, this is going to be my flex guy, he can still be
Hmm.
productive for you, but he's no longer that top workhorse back that you would pick in the first round.
Yeah, yeah,
The crazy
yeah. No, I
part
agree with
about it
that.
too, they got him ranked 19th out of all
That's what
running
I'm.
backs.
That's what I'm looking at, and I don't
Ooh,
understand that. I don't understand that.
Yeah,
I'm not
I
that
think
seems a
understanding
little
that.
low.
I agree with you. Between Patrick Mahomes and Ezekiel Elliott, I think those are good value picks. They're gonna slide. Uh,
Mm,
i- if you're at a good spot round wise, you already got your wide receivers, you already got your running backs. Why not go Mahomes in like the 5th round? If he's still there, I could imagine a lot of scenarios where he's still there that late.
yeah,
And
yeah,
you're able to get, in my opinion, someone that's going to be really productive this year, regardless of all the hype.
yeah. So we've discussed backup QB and backup running back. What do you guys think about in terms of like a backup receiver or a tight end? That's still good value right now.
Like as far as like with tight end, usually what I do is I'll just wait and get somebody in waivers when that
Hmm.
time comes for my tight end.
Really?
With wide receivers, I'm always trying to go super deep with wide receivers because it seems like there's always an issue. I've had bad luck with injuries for wide receivers, so I always
Mm,
try to go deep and have just a plethora of wide receivers on my roster to have backups. And like if you're looking at the rankings that we're looking at now, as far as people that will be available for you to have a backup wide receiver,
hmm.
so if we're doing a regular draft and we have the 10 to 12 people that's picking, you're looking at like deep down the line, someone who could be a sleeper pick is like Amari Cooper going to Cleveland this year. I think people are going to sleep on him.
Hmm.
I think he
Hmm.
could have a very productive year. Like I said, depends on Deshaun Watson if he's going to be playing, how much he's going to be playing. Also, I was going to say Jerry Judy, but we just found some news about him today, so he might be
Mm.
out.
Yeah,
Um,
that's gonna
but
suck for them, man.
yeah, yeah, no, that's huge. That's huge.
Yeah.
He finally got a QB, and now he out here doing this. So we don't know, what his status is going to be. But Brandon Cooks is also always productive, but people
He
forget about
is.
him because now he's in Houston. But Brandon Cooks
Hmm.
is always productive, no matter who his QB is. But from when he's with the Saints with Breeze to now playing with Davis Mills, he's still productive no matter who he has. Like he's probably the most underrated receiver in the league, honestly. Like dude's
Yeah.
always balling, and he's a great pickup as far as like a late receiver to get that people sleep on.
Hmm.
Shout out to General Mills in Houston, doing the damn thing. I make sure to drop it every time I get a chance.
You
But
do.
for my backup wide receivers and tight ends, um, another sneaky one, Allen Robinson. This guy has been
Yes.
always
Yes.
productive with the worst QBs you can imagine.
Yeah.
Shout
Yeah.
out to Chicago Bears fans. It's been treacherous. It's been treacherous over there. So to see him with a good QB, I can't wait, especially alongside where you're facing the second best cornerback on those teams.
Hmm.
You're gonna eat. So I'm excited for his season, and I think he's gonna be a little bit unheralded. And as far as the tight end position, this is probably one of the better tight ends, so it's probably not the biggest value. But I would say Dawson Knox. He's been
Mm,
super
Mm.
productive for the Bills and
yeah.
always tends to go later in the rounds compared to guys like Mark Andrews, Greg Kittle, things like that.
Hmm.
The more flashy names, but super productive tight end and a good value pick.
Yeah. I think for tight end, I'm gonna go Zach Ertz. I think. Hey, no. Listen. That he's not with us anymore.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But I think with a lot of stuff that they have going on in Arizona right now, I think he's going to be one of those guys that they're looking at to get a lot of good chunk yards for them. So and he had to get integrated into the system last year. So now with the off season, I think he's going to have an even better season this year. He had a nice one last year, but I think he'll have a better one this year. Being familiar with the system and everything like that. So I'm gonna say Zach Ertz. And yes, I'm going to go Homer on this one since neither one of y'all want to do it. I'm going Devontae Smith. I'm going Devontae Smith as a backup receiver. I think he is going to be a phenomenal backup receiver for fantasy. He should be number one of the top receivers, even in flex. But I think if you're talking about again the narrative driving guys down, the narrative is right now that Jalen Hurts is not the guy, and people still, excuse me, think that he's not going to be able to, pull through and be one of those guys. So because of that, it's going to drive down his value, and I think it's going to drive down AJ Brown's value as well. But I think Devontae Smith is going to be the one that you look at in terms of value late for your backup receiver. I think he's going to be definitely one of those top ones that you can get.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
no, those are good picks for sure. With Zach Ertz, he's going to be looked at those first 6 weeks, especially no D Hop.
Hmm.
He's going to
Yep.
be looked at to step up there for sure. So that could be a sneaky good pick.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, he's gonna blow up real numbers down there for those 6 weeks.
Real quick, and now I know this is completely unrelated, but I think it's important to talk about this.
Yeah.
How is it that for an infraction like that, you only get 6 weeks? Let me just make this clear. In MMA, if you get popped for performance enhancing drugs, you're facing a 2-year suspension.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Ooh,
it's just such a big gap between those two. Obviously,
yeah.
6 weeks only comparatively. I would argue, and obviously he's not a defensive player, so this argument's a little tough to make. But I would argue MMA, NFL, these are all sports where the bigger you are, the stronger you are, that matters, and it also can matter as far as injuring other people around you.
Hmm.
So, um,
Yeah.
I personally tend to tolerate those things way less. I think it's funny how the more stringent drug testing gets, the more people randomly find Teridaball in their body or randomly find this.
Yeah.
I'm one of those
Yeah.
guys that's fully in the camp that if you ain't treating, you ain't trying. And you trying to tell me that these dudes are able to perform the way they are and they're not on the sauce. Like shout out Tom Brady. That dude is off of all the supplements, and I need to meet his dealer because wow.
You didn't hear what he said this week?
No, I didn't.
He,
What do you say?
he said that his wife is a good witch. She basically wills, which I I don't know, but he said that she has this intuition and something like that, and like she builds this altar um, for him like on game days, so he can have pictures of the kids and stuff like that. And she gives him all these little things to like mantras to recite, and I think she said something about I think he said something about supplements as well, but so that might be to your point.
Dude,
But
before I
yeah,
throw the floor to you guys,
she predicted when he was going to win a championship or not win a championship. So
before I throw the floor to you guys, I just gotta say it as the only person here that is white passing. I'm Hispanic. That's some white people shit right there. To be building an altar, come on, bro. That's some white people shit right there. But please, I'm excited to hear what you guys think about the whole PED debate and how things are a little less stringent in the NFL.
Yeah, now you make a great point about how both are violent sports, right? MMA, I'm a big boxing guy, as you guys know. And with boxing, sometimes you see those penalties not be as strong as they are with UFC when it comes
Mhm.
to people getting caught with performance enhancing drugs. I think the reason that it's so different in football than say MMA is that it's not perceived as violent as MMA. Because MMA, we see the violence right then and there. We see somebody get their arm broke right then and there,
Yeah.
and it's like, oh wow, like you see the violence hits you right in your face. With football, we see the nasty hits sometimes. Of course, we see somebody break a leg and stuff like that, but it's not as because as soon as it happens, they bring out the stretcher. Everybody does their prayer. They clap for the dude coming off the field. He does a thumbs up, and
Mm-hmm.
then we move on.
Mm-hmm.
With MMA, when someone like Anderson Silva breaks his leg, we see that on social media for like the next 2 weeks. And it's like, it hits you right in the face. So I think because of
Yeah.
that, that's why the penalties are so different. Because if someone gets caught with that, and like you mentioned, being bigger, stronger, faster, they can hurt somebody in a really bad way and something that we see right away. So if somebody gets caught with steroids after a fight and we see them break somebody's arm, it's like, oh my God, this guy was on steroids and he broke somebody's arm. So I
Mm-hmm.
think that's why it's so just a more strict penalty in MMA.
I think excuse me, the point you were talking about though, Chris, about the time that they get away from the sport. I think like think about it like this. If if MMA if MMA fighters fought on a 16, 17 week schedule like the NFL did,
That's true.
I'm pretty sure it would be a lot shorter. I'm pretty sure in that 16, 17 weeks, we would see them only be cut maybe like 6, 7 weeks or something like that, and then they're back in the fray. I think it's because of that,
Great
because
point.
they're only fighting what three times a year. If you're like Cerrone, you're fighting almost every month. Um, I think I think that's probably the discrepancy in terms of the changes of the or the length and punishment. Because you're only fighting like maybe 3 times a week. I mean, 3 times a year.
And that's a good
Anyway,
year.
so
Yeah,
that's a good year. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's what I'm thinking. That's probably where that discrepancy lies.
for sure. And I think the argument for both sports is like you want to give enough time for that the effects of whatever that was to leave your body. But
Hmm.
I don't think that's the case, especially in
Yeah,
football.
yeah,
And I just want to say I hope that they're still being tested while they're out, because that's something that not a lot of people
yeah,
talk about. It's like yeah, you're not playing, you're out, but does that mean that you're still getting the same routine drug testing there? I would hope so. I would hope you would be getting even more,
yeah.
just
It
based on the
should be.
fact that you popped in the first place.
Yeah,
That's true. They come back after 6 weeks, get 300 yards. We're like, oh my God, it was the rest.
Shredded too, like just shredded. Exactly. Awesome.
oh my god.
All right. So, is there anything left on fantasy football? You want to talk strategy? You want to talk specifics? Anything you want to mention before we move on to the NBA?
Ooh, defense. We didn't talk about defense.
Ooh,
Who would your number one defense be, and who would your backup defense be?
Oh, good question. Well, I can go homer for this one, right? My Saints defense
Yeah,
is going to be nice this year.
yeah,
I think we're going to force a lot of turnovers. We already had a good defense last year. Then we
yeah.
brought Honey Badger back home. So
Which
I'm
I'm
looking
I'm
forward to that. I
sick
think the
about.
Saints defense is going to be sick this year.
Yeah, I agree with that.
so
What you think, Chris?
why don't we give our first picks in a row and then we'll do our backups in a serpentine. So you go ahead, Derek.
Okay. Um, I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna go homer on that one. Philly,
Wow, with the first pick.
not the first pick, but if I'm gonna choose, you know what? That'll be my backup. Thank you for
Okay.
saying that. That'll be my backup. I'll choose my backup first, and then I choose my starter after that. So I'm gonna
Good,
choose Philly. Yeah,
good luck getting somebody good
yeah.
still there.
Oh, I still get a good defense. I still get one. I'm not worried.
You're right. So this, and I hope this isn't controversial, but sometimes what it means to have a good defense doesn't always come across in fantasy. I think
Hmm.
that's important to mention.
Hmm.
So the team I'm looking at here, this is going to surprise some people. The Las Vegas Raiders. I think
Oh,
that
I
they're
thought you
going
were
to
about to say the
have.
Lions.
Oh, how dare you? How dare you? Um, just the amount of sacks they're going to be getting between Crosby and of course the goat. Uh,
Yeah,
I just feel like they're going to be very productive on that end, and that's a great way to rack up some fantasy points. So that's how I'm going
For
with.
sure. For sure.
So Damien, why don't you start us off with the backups?
So from our backup defense, I'm gonna go with the Indianapolis Colts. That defense is always solid, and I think they're going to be looking at forcing turnovers. Their leader, Darius Leonard, is always he's the master of the peanut punch now. So I think that
Yeah.
they always force turnovers. That's what you want. You want a defense that forces turnovers. It doesn't allow that many points. Turnovers
Mhm.
leads to points for your fantasy team. So Saints and Colts would be my two leading defenses there.
Yeah. Um. Ooh, I got two that I'm really thinking about. Um. Bump it. I'm gonna go the safe route. I'm gonna go with the Rams. I was gonna choose the Chargers, but I'm gonna go with the Rams. I think the Rams gonna have a phenomenal year this year. They basically bring everybody back except um Jesus Chris. Ever since you started doing this thing where you're blanking names, man, now it's rubbing off on me. What's the guy that just went to Buffalo? Name of the guy,
Von Miller.
Oh, Von Miller.
Von Miller. I knew it was a V. Thank you,
Yeah.
Von Miller. He's pretty much the only one guy that's not coming back. So yeah, I told you I could get one that's still be a starter. So yeah, be my starter defense.
The shoddy memory, just
Yeah,
it's contagious. I love
you
it.
know
I
what?
love it.
I'm gonna blame it on COVID, even though I had it 2 years ago.
I respect it. You know what I'm gonna blame it on? Weed, and also, and also, the fact that I can name you abstract MMA fighters from the last 7 years. I think that has a
Yeah,
toll on the memory. Okay, there's only
probably,
so many
probably,
names I could
yeah.
keep.
Yeah.
There's
Um,
only so much space for sports in the brain.
exactly.
Yeah.
But my backup pick, I don't care. I'm going Homer. The Ravens. Give me my Ravens defense. I don't care. I go over the Chargers. I think the Chargers have obviously the big name acquisitions, so
Yeah,
everyone's
yeah.
gonna be looking towards them. I would say as far as a tried and true system, plugging in good players into that system, and upgrading on the front end and the back end. Give me the
Mhm.
Ravens all day.
Yeah,
Hey, speaking of your
definitely.
Ravens, I think J.K. Dobbins is a sneaky good pick for
Ooh,
running back this year. Being somebody coming back
yeah,
off an injury, people are going to sleep on him and forget about him. J.K. Dobbins, because I had a
yeah.
fantasy league last year that was literally like the week before he got hurt. I picked him up. I was super excited. Then that next
Oh,
preseason game, he tore his ACL. So yeah, it was it was tough on me. But I think J.K. Dobbins is going to be a good pick this year.
yeah. Especially if
For
you can get him
sure.
in flex.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah,
was someone that we didn't talk about a lot last year when we were talking about all the injuries that the Ravens were dealing with, because that's how many goddamn injuries there were.
I just said your entire offense, your all your running backs went down. That
Yeah,
I
and the
didn't
whole
even say
secondary.
names. I just said everybody.
All of them fools. Yeah,
Yeah.
legit.
Yeah. Man,
Oh,
y'all had the retirement home running backs last year. They were still
Yeah, yeah,
productive
yeah.
though. Like it really
They were.
shows what their
Yeah.
offense is when you get Le'Veon Bell and Devontae Freeman, all these dudes off the street. That was
Yep.
really they're about to be stay-at-home dads.
Yep.
They was being productive in y'all offense.
hell yeah, man. I can't wait. I feel like this year we're slept on way more than I could remember in the last couple years. So I'm really
Yeah.
excited. I think we're going to prove a lot of people wrong in a stacked conference as well. So it's scary
Yeah.
times. But
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, AFC is going to be
this,
crazy this year.
It
dude,
really is. Put up or shut up.
I
That's
can't wait
that's
to
basically what
see
it is.
the NFC teams that don't make it, and then sooner than later, I feel like with the way this has happened, within the next 2 years, we're gonna start hearing the same talks that we're hearing in the NBA about making it just the top X amount of teams that go instead of the conferences.
Oh.
I
Yeah.
think that'll be the conversation in the next couple years.
Oh, now the Super Bowl will be real crazy like that.
Hell yeah, right?
Oh,
We
I
should
like
do
that.
that one day because I don't know if you
Yes.
saw it, Damien. We did a whole breakdown of what it would be like if the NBA playoffs this season was 1 through 16. And one of the bigger
Okay.
surprises we ended up coming out with was like the Timberwolves almost made it like to the conference finals, um, because of matchups and who they were facing. So
Yeah.
that was fun, sort of projecting
Yeah.
that. But we should definitely do that for the NFL too, just like
I like
theory
that.
For
crafting
sure.
that at the end of the season, what it'll look like if they did it that way.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
with that. I'm with that.
For sure. Yeah, that's a
Yes,
good
sir.
idea.
Yeah.
Awesome. So yeah, this was fucking fun, dude. I didn't think that this was gonna take us almost an hour, but this is awesome. Fantasy
Doesn't
football
even
is
feel
where
like
it's
that.
at.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Yeah.
like if you're a football fan at all, like fantasy is a big part of your life. Like regardless of if your team is playing, like you got that red zone
Mm,
on the laptop
yeah.
over there, and you're gonna be looking at it
Hmm.
every now and then. So,
Hmm.
love me some fantasy talk. But we
Yes,
got
sir.
bigger fish to fry. It's playoff time. And
Yes,
speaking
sir.
of nut up or shut up, it's 3-2 across the board. We got a lot to talk about. I'm gonna save your Celtics for the end because
That's
I need
perfectly
to.
fine,
I
man.
need to. Every week we start with them, so we're gonna save it for the end. I'm gonna start with the only team that has a tie still to Damien's Pelicans, and that is the Suns. They're up 3-2 right now against the Mavs. Um,
Mm,
where are they playing tonight? Because they're playing tonight,
It's
but
in
where are they?
Dallas. Yeah, in
Okay.
it's
Dallas
Dallas.
Yep.
tonight.
Yeah.
Big game. Big game.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on this series? A, and how it's been going, and B, early predictions for tonight. I doubt this will go out in time for people to check it out, but why not?
Yeah. No, I think that the Suns go ahead and end the series tonight. I'm surprised it went this far. I thought it was going to be over in five. I think the Suns are just a
Mm,
much better team. Dallas has the best player in Luca, and I figured he would get a game, maybe two, because he is so good. But the Suns overall just have the better team, and I think this series is really showing why it's a big thing in the NBA. It's not only just the talent, but it's the fit of your team. And Luca has the most talent, but he doesn't have that second player to fit around him. We thought that was going to be
hmm.
KP, Kristaps Porzingis was going to be that guy, to be that second guy for him. Right now, he doesn't have
Hmm.
that second guy. Jalen Brunson looked like he could be that second guy against Utah. He balled out
Hmm.
against Utah, but in this series hasn't been as consistent. He's had game here and there, but not consistent. With Phoenix, you have Devin Booker as your guy to ball out and score for you, but Aiton could come up big for you. Chris Paul, we
Hmm.
know, unfortunately, my Pelicans found out he can go crazy on you. So this man
Hmm.
go, 14 for 14 if needed
Yeah.
in an elimination game. So like
Hmm.
they have everybody there who plays their very specific roles. And with Dallas, you have Luca and just people. And those some of those people
Hmm.
have balled out. Like Bullock has been really big. He's shown up big in games, playing really good defense on CP3 and shooting threes. But they don't have that next guy. They need more than
Hmm.
just Luca and the rest of them. It can't be David Ruffin and the Temptations. It has to be a more. You have to have a more consistent group right there. You have to have more
Yeah.
of an equal amount going across to really win in the playoffs. So I think the Suns are going to close it out tonight.
And to your point, I think a person that could actually be that would be very interesting if we saw it happen. Bradley Beal going to Dallas would be
Mm.
pretty interesting. I think
Ooh,
he would need. I mean, Luca does need a number two. He does need someone that's gonna take some attention away from him. And I mean, you get someone that can stretch the floor out a little bit. I think they have pieces to build with. They just need that. Like you said, they thought KP was going to be that guy, and there was just that just wasn't going to be it. So
yeah,
Beal would be a very interesting choice there.
it would
So I
be.
agree
It'd
with
be
you on that
interesting to see for sure.
one. Yeah, but yeah, Phoenix is taking this one. Yeah,
You think in
seems like
six too? You think they finish it tonight too?
yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
like that.
yeah.
Clearly, you don't rate what it means to be a home team. I think the Dallas Mavs are going to be able to push it to seven, and my reason for
Ooh,
that is
Mm,
I agree with what you said, Damien. I feel like they're clearly the better team, and they've shown that in spots. But I feel like they still haven't played to their potential. I feel like there's a lot of these
right.
games where I feel like they should be doing much better, especially early on, and they end up putting themselves in a little bit of a hole. So watch out for that. I think Luca's going to give us that game tonight and stretch the series to seven. I always thought that this series was going to be in that 6 or 7 range. And honestly, I was surprised that they got blown out the way they did in the last game because they were doing so
yeah, that was
well.
crazy.
Yeah,
And
Yeah,
then it was just a big swing. So, um, it's an exciting series. Honestly, it's been fun for me to watch. Hasn't felt overmatched really. Even in the games that ended up with a big blowout, it
mm,
felt very competitive early on. So
hmm,
yeah, I've been loving it. But yeah, you got to go with the Suns, even if it's on. Well, they'll be at home for the game seven, so that's my
yeah.
idea. Going with the home teams, baby. But yeah, that's
Not
pretty
mad at
much it
that.
for that one. We can
Yeah,
move
I'm not
on.
mad at that.
Why don't we bring it over to the East? There's this game going on right now. I
Hmm.
hammered. Let me just say this: the biggest straight bet I've ever dropped was on the Heat straight up. The fact that they were underdogs in this game. I dropped a pretty penny. Let me just try to add it up. What is it? 4.5 units. So if they lose, they up 20 right now. If they lose, just know I might not be on next week. We might have a replacement next week, just from the heart attack that I get. But I think in this series, I love starting it off. I think the Heat. I underestimated the Heat coming into this series, and that's something that me and Derrick talked about a lot. Obviously, I was trying to keep my
Mhm.
finals pick intact. I picked the Sixers to make it to the finals, so
Yeah.
wishful thinking on that end. But this matchup has really showed. I think if Embiid was fully healthy, this series could have been a little bit different. But I still
Yeah.
think the Heat end up coming up on top. I think a big part of what you said, as far as fit, the shooters on this team really complement what they do as far as their
Mhm.
grit. Like everyone just assumes because they have so many shooters that they don't have that too. And trust, they really do have that. That's always been the Heat's identity as a team, and it's
Mhm.
been really cool to see that come out, especially in these last couple games. So yeah, I'm really liking what Miami's doing. I feel like they're pulling it together just at the right time as well. And looks like they're going to close it out tonight, Game 6.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, Go ahead, Damien.
Yeah, it looks like it's pretty much over. Like I don't see the Sixers making any comeback in this game. The Heat, I like how they were able to adjust. Once Joel Embiid came back, you knew that Philadelphia was going to have this jump in energy and production just from his presence, and that's what we saw in Game 3. His presence. He didn't even play well in Game 3, but just him being there
Mhm.
uplifted everybody else on their team. But Embiid's a warrior playing through a broken face. I couldn't imagine trying to do that, and you're gonna get hit in the face. Like it's gonna
Yeah.
happen, and you saw
Yeah.
out there playing with a broken face and a messed up thumb. That's
Yeah.
what's getting lost. He got a torn ligament in his
Mhm.
thumb too. Playing
Yeah.
through that and still being productive. So shout out to him for being a warrior, and you see the difference he makes on this team. But
Mhm.
I guess because this series is pretty much over, I want to have like a semi big discussion. James Harden, due for this super huge contract. If you're the GM for Philadelphia, what do? You gave up these assets to get him to be the second guy behind Embiid, and he's giving you maybe one out of every 4 or 5 games he shows up to be the old James Harden. But besides that, he's coming out there giving you 15 points, 8, 9 assists. He's being like Chris Paul without the takeover factor. Like he's been a really good facilitator, but he's
Yeah.
not giving you that takeover factor that Chris Paul can give you from
Yeah.
game to game. So if you're their
Yeah.
GM, what do you do with James Harden?
I think there's two answers to this because I think it could be what will you do it with this, or what will Daryl Morey actually do? And I
Yeah,
think what we're going to actually see is Daryl Morey. He's going to bring him back. But what I think he should do is trade him. I think if you were to do like a move like, which I'm probably going to be talking about this guy a couple times, but I think what would be interesting is if they did a sign and trade with Washington and got Beal there.
Ooh.
Um, that I think that would be very interesting. Uh, I don't think Harden is worth the money. That money.
No,
I mean,
he's
he's worth money. You want him
yeah,
on your team, but he's to me he's moved down to like the third option,
yeah,
type of player. He's not the first or second, and I think if he is your first or second, you're in trouble. Which is why I was against Philly even doing the trade and to begin with. I mean, I liked it for my Celtics, but I hated it for them because I thought what they did leading up without Ben Simmons was phenomenal.
yeah,
I think having him there, I think I think Harden has helped Maxi, but I don't think that you want that kind of help with jeopardizing the team. You see what I'm
yeah,
saying? Like I don't think that's something that you would have if they were able to look into the future. I don't think they would have been like, yeah, let's do it. Um,
yeah,
that's more of an off season type of move. If you're gonna trade Ben Simmons, I would have forced Harden, KD, and Kyrie to play at least one playoff series together, and I would have just left Ben Simmons sitting on the bench, racking fines. Like they were doing phenomenal. They were
yeah,
doing such phenomenal work, and we discussed this before, Chris, but Andre Drummond being the backup for Embiid was really good. He
yeah,
was doing a phenomenal job, and you swap that for DeAndre Jordan. You're not winning a
Yeah.
series like that. You're just not winning a
Yeah.
series like that. So yeah, I'm not banking on Daryl Morey to really do anything but sign Harden. But if I'm the GM, I'm going to find a way to get some value and trade him.
It's a
Mm,
great shout. And
yeah.
I think James Harden benefits from this free agent class being very, very shallow. Like I
Yeah,
think I think
yeah,
that's the biggest key. So I agree. I think he ends up
yeah.
back in Philly. And honestly, I would say try to find one of those deals that it's a little longer, but it's a
Mm,
little less of a cap hit. I
yeah.
don't know if that's something he's willing to take, but given the way he's played, I think that's justifiable. I think there's been a lot of times in this series and the previous one where Maxi looks like their number two option, and you love that. You love when a guy on a rookie contract is balling out that way,
Hmm.
because you know
Yeah.
you got him wrapped up, and he's playing to potential, so that's all great. But at the same time, I agree with a lot of the stuff you guys said. Like I just feel like hasn't been where it was expected to be, and I feel like
Hmm.
the narratives are really catching up on James Harden. This is something we talked about before on the show too.
Hmm.
But I feel like him and his lifestyle specifically. Shout out to them strip clubs, baby. You got it. So that comes to it comes to bear at some point, and I think we've been seeing that later on into season specifically. His
Yeah,
body not cooperating in the way it does during the regular season, on top of the rule changes really changing things for him. Period. Um,
yeah, yeah.
if this was any other free agency class, I think there is room to do a different move and try to bring someone
Hmm.
else in. But given that your next biggest option is Kyrie, I think Kyrie has more free agency pull than Bradley Bill does. So I would say that's
Oh
the
yeah,
next biggest guy.
yeah.
And even then, I don't really like that fit either. So
It doesn't work.
Yeah.
for
No,
sure, I think he ends up back in Philly.
yeah, and
Would
you're
that would
talking
be
about
so nuts if Philadelphia's GM let go of James Harden to get Kyrie Irving after all this stuff that had happened, and, and then the full circle, Kyrie Irving comes to Philadelphia and James Harden has no
yeah,
home and ends up somewhere else.
yeah,
That would be
yeah.
nuts.
Goes
That'd be
back to the
hilarious.
Nets. That'd be fucking nuts.
Nah. Yeah, I mean James Harden, what 33 years old? He'll be signing for a $47 million contract, and
Yep.
that's for 1 year. I'm not signing you to 47 million, bro. Like
Yeah, he's
there's
no longer a max
something
player.
else got
Yeah,
no something else got to work. Something else got to happen because that's not value. That's not value. I mean, 33 should be still like balling, and I mean he's doing a great job in terms of facilitating and getting other guys involved. But you should be scoring. I mean, like
yeah,
I think if I'm not mistaken, I think he's somewhere in the teens of like not scoring anything close to like 25 in terms of teams for how many games for the playoffs that he's been in the last couple of years. Uh, that's unacceptable. Not that type of money for a guy that's supposed to be the first or second option. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? You should be in the neighborhood of 25 to 30
yeah.
per game.
Now we're not paying this much money for a bearded Ricky Rubio. Like this
Yeah.
is not what that's what he's become. Like we not you're not getting the max deal for that. Ricky Rubio's
Yo,
nice, good facilitator, great passer, but you're not getting
yeah,
40+ million to be Ricky Rubio, bro.
I like that. That's hilarious.
Hey, this is what I'm about to pull a deep cut right here. For that same money you paying, you go
Mhm.
out, you grab Zach Levine, and listen to this,
Mm.
listen to this. You make a late push for DeAndre Ayton. Imagine Ayton and Joel Embiid
Ooh.
on the same front court. That'll be nuts.
Hey, I'm out here in
Don't put that
Phoenix. They're
out
gonna
there.
they're gonna riot if that happens. And Aiden, they are going to riot out here
Do
if
not put
Aiden
that out
leaves.
there. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that. Hell no.
He said that's too close. That's too
That's
close to
way too.
Boston. Hold on.
That's too much, man. I don't want to see that. Nah, I would love Aiton in Boston, but I wouldn't. That's the only Eastern team I want to see him in. If something happened, I don't want to see him in the East. Sorry.
I like that. The homer came out and we didn't even get to the Celtics playoff
Yeah.
series yet. We love it. We love to see it. So yeah, free agency talk always fun. There's a couple of different spots here where we could do the same thing as well. So we'll get back to that. But
Yeah.
in the West, now I'm not gonna lie. There's a reason why I made that big bet today. It's because I
Uh,
made a big bet yesterday and it
okay.
didn't fucking hit. And I was in pain, bro. I was in pain. I was like, yo, there's no way the Warriors don't close this out. So Warriors are up still 3-2.
Yeah.
Going back to I always fuck this up. Going back to the Chase Center, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh
Yeah.
I man, I'll start it off with this one. It sucks off rip. It really sucks that John Morant hasn't been playing.
Yeah.
But especially watching, I'm not saying this as a prisoner in the moment. I'm saying this counting the game prior as well. I think
Yeah.
they really figured some things out as far as how they should approach this series as Ja went down. I
Hmm.
think if Steven Adams was getting big minutes the way he has been earlier on, this could have been a much closer series.
Yeah.
And something that I was freaking out thinking about, and I know you don't even want to hear this, Damien, but I was like, imagine if this Grizzlies team somehow kept on to Valanciunas, like they would be
Mm,
insane. Like, and I know that's
mm,
years past, of course.
yeah.
Yeah.
We're at where we're at, but I think they really figured some stuff out late that could have been better learned early.
Hmm.
I think the Warriors end up closing it out at home. But honestly, I've been a little worried about the Warriors, man. I thought that they were the consensus
Yeah.
favorite. And I don't think they've played up to that level. And it's weird saying that when I
Hmm.
said the same thing about the Phoenix Suns, but um, I think that all signs point to that being the Western Conference Finals.
Hmm.
Mhm.
And I'm just interested to see who peaks at the right time because I feel like both teams still have a lot to go.
Yeah.
You
No, I agree
mentioned
with that.
being worried about the Warriors. They didn't play well in game four that they won. Like that game was
Hmm.
one of the sloppiest, just bad
Hmm.
played games on both sides that I've ever seen. Like I felt like I was watching myself play at LA Fitness. Like it looked like me and me and the homies playing. It didn't look like professional basketball players. Like it was so bad. The fact that that's what's going to hunt Memphis. The fact that they lost that game. You had the
Hmm.
first half, Golden State shot 33% from the field and 10% from three, and Memphis was
Hmm.
only up by 3 points at half. That's what's going to
Yeah.
haunt them. The fact that they let that one slip. Now,
Yeah.
last night, I lost some money on that as well. No way to expect Golden State to come out there and just lay this dud. Like it
Yeah.
was crazy to see. Like I was like, oh, I guess I ain't got to watch this game. I'm gonna start playing 2K. And normally during playoff time, I don't get a chance to do that. But
Yeah.
that was over quickly, and it's so weird. And the thing is, if they mess around and don't play well tonight, Game 7 back in Memphis,
Mm,
that's scary hours. It's scary hours. They
yeah.
better go ahead and take
Yeah.
care of business tonight. Like, don't let it be
Yeah.
close. Take care
Yeah.
of business because they go back to Game 7. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
We've
Yeah.
seen them blow
No,
a
I agree
3-1
with
lead
that.
before.
Yeah. I agree with that. I agree with that. I think if they don't put him out, I think they could definitely force a game 7, and it's at that point it's anybody's game because I
Yeah.
think honestly, I thought this is where you were going to go earlier, Chris. Phoenix, not only did they, I mean, not Phoenix, Memphis, not only did they figure out what they needed to do with this series, but they learned how to play without Ja.
Yeah.
They learned how to do that during the season. Like, so this wasn't like a big panic when it happened. I mean, you don't want to see your star player go down, but when that happened, it's just like, okay, we know what to do. And I mean, there's been a lot of times where Memphis has actually looked better without Morant on the floor. So I don't know. That's gonna be interesting if they force a game 7. If they force a game 7, especially like we talk about with Steven Adams. Steven Adams, I think, takes a lot of pressure off of Jaren, which now you're not in foul trouble as much. Like I think
Yeah.
that was one of the biggest things for Memphis in general is just getting Adams back. So I'm intrigued by the series because there's no way I didn't put any money on this game, but I'm gonna tell you what, there's no way in hell they should have lost that. Especially like you
Yeah.
don't come out, you don't go into a game where you can close a series out and talk the trash. Steph talk was saying when they asked what the game plan is, whoop that trick. You don't like you got to come out guns blazing at that point. It ain't
Yeah.
it ain't you can't come out and do that like that.
I wonder if they thought Memphis was going to lay down. Like, I wonder if they
They
thought,
did.
like, no Ja. Memphis they're gonna come out here and lay down. They're not gonna lay down,
Yeah.
especially at home in front of their
Yeah.
crowd.
It's
And after you
pride,
said you're
man.
gonna whip that trick, they definitely not
Yeah.
gonna lay down, bro. They was gonna come and fight, and that's what they saw,
Yeah.
man. So tonight's gonna be
Yeah.
interesting because, like you said, it's not like we've seen the best Golden State. And I'm gonna let you go,
Right.
Chris. But I have a question after you go. I have a question about like Golden State in general.
Yeah,
Yeah.
nice.
Mm.
Man, I just for me, I really wanted to react because I feel like a big part of what makes this Memphis team so special is they they spread the floor in a very interesting
Mhm.
way that you don't see in today's NBA because they have those anchors in the front court and then they have the shooters on the outside too. Like there's not
Yeah.
a lot of teams that have both of those things. And you could see in these games like um, I don't want to mess up his name. I hope this is how you say it. Tyus Jones. He's been balling, dude.
Yeah.
Like he's been really
Mhm.
stepping
Mhm.
up, and it almost made me
Mhm.
wonder like should he be getting more minutes when Ja is playing just because of how he's
Yeah.
played. I think it's warranted.
Yeah.
Um, I really like this team, and I just can't wait to see what they become. I feel like the more they stick together, the more time they have together as a unit. There's no doubt that, in my opinion, this team is a Western Conference Finals team very soon.
Yeah.
At the same time, though, um, obviously it's very easy to say things in hindsight, but I just feel like that's another team that has been very weird throughout this whole playoffs. Whether it was
Mhm.
against Minnesota and everything being so close and either being
Mhm.
dominant or
Mhm.
looking terrible and then coming back roaring back to win. Just a very weird dynamic. You don't see a lot of good teams end up in spots like that where they don't look good for a long time and then they pull it
Mhm.
together when they have to. You never really want to be in that spot, um, which I think lends really nicely to the next series we're going to talk about. But just in general, I'm a big fan of what Memphis has got going on. I'm a big fan of what Golden State also has going on. I think both of these teams, if you ask me, they did it the right way. These aren't teams that picked up random dudes and in free agency and let's roll, baby. No, these are teams that
Mhm.
built their squad through the draft and through the right means. So not the sexy moves, not the teams that you were looking at in the offseason, like man, they did this and this. But at the
Mhm.
same time, big moves that carried over and now are carrying over big in the playoffs too. I love seeing Justin Kaminga get the start because I think he does a lot of things against especially teams that are big, like Memphis
Mhm.
is.
Mhm.
So it's been really fun to see the coaching adjustments in this series specifically. I feel like if you ask me, across all series, this has been the most variable games. I feel like a lot of these games have looked very different,
Yeah.
and that's a testament to both of those
Yeah. Yeah.
coaches. So exciting stuff. If you ask me, honestly, even though the games haven't really played out that way,
Mhm.
as far as being super close, this series and the one we're going to talk about next, Celtics Bucks, have been the most fun for me to watch because a lot of big adjustments and a lot of big moments for a lot of guys.
Yeah, no,
I
for
agree with that.
sure. And the question I have for you guys regarding Golden State. So you mentioned how they haven't played well. A big part of that is Klay Thompson not being Klay Thompson anymore. I
Yeah.
don't know if this is
Yeah.
going to continue. If it's just going to take a while for him to get in the groove, but he's been playing for a while now. It's not like it's 2 weeks in anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
And next year, you're gonna have a big question about extending Jordan Poole, getting him a big contract. You already got Steph with a contract, Draymond. You got Clay's contract, and people forget about Wiggins making $30 million a year too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so when you think
Jesus.
about the fact that they already have four dudes on big contracts and Jordan Poole's got to get paid, is it crazy to think they move on from Klay Thompson?
No, because they already hinted at it a couple years back.
Yeah.
With I think Jerry West was the one that stopped the trade, but I think they were going to trade him to Minnesota, I believe.
Oh, you talking way back in the day for Kevin Love?
Way back. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah, for Kevin Love, that's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um
Thank God they didn't
so
do that.
Yeah, for sure.
man, that would have been wild. But that probably would have been better for Cat, to be honest. You know, but hey, whatever. That's a different subject. I think
Don't get me started on Cat, man.
yeah. I think that it would be very interesting because I almost feel like if you're to move on from someone, it would be if you're just talking about production right now. Clay would be the guy. But that's so weird to say that because I
It's
really
so
think
weird.
it should be Wiggins.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
yeah, if you're talking about production, if it's not going up, I don't think they're going to do it. But if you're talking about getting someone in, because I think they're going to need size. They need size. They need size. They
You
need someone at the five. They can't keep doing the small ball thing, especially the older Draymond gets. You can't keep doing that small ball with him as
Yeah.
like your primary lineup. So either Wiseman needs to
Needs to get
become
healthy.
what they
Yeah.
thought he was going to be. Yeah, or you move on and figure something out. Go get Taco Fall or someone. But you need someone. You need a big that you can play a little bit with. So yeah,
Man's just
that's
trying to go
interesting.
from no knee cartilage to negative knee cartilage with Taco Fall. That's a tough run right there. Um, I agree, man. I really feel like if you moving on from anybody in an ideal world, it would be Wiggins, just because
Yeah.
it's the less flashy sort of situation. But the
Yeah.
contracts don't play out that way, so things get switched up. Um, I'm gonna say, and I'm gonna go out of whim in saying this. I don't think he has fell off as much as people think he has. I think it's
Okay.
based off of offensive production. On the defensive end, I
Mm-hmm.
really liked what I've seen out of Klay Thompson. But
Mm-hmm.
at the same time, offensively, obviously, is where everyone is expecting him to bring the heat, and
Yeah.
it has been tough to see him struggle the way he has because it's not just like he's not hitting shots. He's not hitting mid range shots either. Like there's a lot of
Yeah.
problems as far
Yeah.
as his rhythm and being prepared on the night of. So I think give him the time and run it back. I don't think you blow it up. But
Mm.
I agree. You really got to get Wiseman healthy and figure out that whole situation because um, you're able to do it for the moment without Ja. But I feel like if they were figured out the big ball lineups earlier, this series could have been done in six. To be honest, with the way that the
Mm-hmm.
Warriors have been playing, regardless of how much
Mm.
Steph is going to give you, like Steph is that guy no matter what. Uh, there's
Mm-hmm.
always a stretch, but there was a stretch in last night's game where he hit. They were down 8, and he hit two threes back to back, and now they're down 2. Like that. That's the kind of production you're going to get out of Steph. That's not to be questioned. But if that's also coming from Clay too,
Mm-hmm.
this team is unstoppable. We saw it most wins ever for a franchise ever in one season. So
Mm-hmm.
I think you don't break it up just yet, but don't sign him on a 6 year, 5 year.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that's what he's gonna be looking for. So it's a tough spot to be in as a GM.
Yeah.
Who, Clay? You think Clay's looking for a 5 to 6 year?
Yep.
Uh, well, he's gonna be making 40. What did I say? 47? No, 43. I'm sorry. He's gonna be making 43 next year at 33.
Ooh.
Um, here's an idea. What if you traded, which I don't think is gonna happen, but just for the sake of the conversation, uh, Clay for Tobias Harris.
Mm.
Hmm.
Tobias is
Because
another one who can, when it comes to big time games, can be hit or miss. He's been better this year.
yeah,
Like he had to be
he's been
because
better
James
this
wasn't
year.
there. But he's but
Yeah,
he's another one who could be hit or miss. But if he's the third, fourth option, that could be a good call.
that's
He's
what.
another one who has a big contract as well.
Yeah,
But that could be a good
because I
call.
mean, Clay and Philly would be interesting. Um, I don't think it's gonna happen, but it would be interesting to see if that did work out.
I like it. I like J Cole wherever he goes. Now let me stop. I'm a big fan of Tobias Harris. I think if you play fantasy basketball,
hmm
Tobias Harris, you know he's that dude. But
Yeah, yeah,
he's
Very,
one of the
very
guys that's
consistent.
probably, yeah, for sure, very consistent. He's one of the guys that's probably the least heralded as far as big names.
Mm.
But I don't know about that move specifically because yeah, it is a little bit more size, but at the same time, it's not really the size you need. Because in lineups with Dre, I
it's
would
not.
imagine Dre's still the 5. So yeah, exactly. It's not the
Yeah,
size
yeah,
that you
yeah.
need. But interesting
I'm
move
just
for
looking at
sure.
contracts. I'm just looking at contracts.
Hmm.
I think that works out better for Philly for sure. But if they were to, I don't know, do a 3-team trade or something like that, like something else could happen. I think you could figure out a way to get your size.
You mentioned somebody earlier, Phoenix, if they're still hesitating on paying Aiton, does Golden
Oh,
State go after
yes.
DeAndre Ayton
Let me see what that looks
and
like.
maybe a
Dude,
Clay
do a
trade can be
trade.
involved there?
Yep, maybe Clay and Wiseman. Like I'll do that. Like I will do
Yeah,
that. It frees up cap space. You're able to probably sign someone else. Imagine they're able to do that and then get Beal. Like that'd be fucking fire. I'm talking
Oh
myself
my
into it
god.
here. Talking
Oh my
myself into
god.
it here. I doubt though that
Uh,
Phoenix will make that move, especially with the team that's basically your number two, the guy that you're going to be
yeah,
facing in the
yeah,
finals. I don't know if you guys want to mutually make each other
yeah.
different, because who knows how if it'll
that's
be
True.
true.
better or not.
I feel like
I
Phoenix
want
has to go
JaVale
ahead
McGee.
and just bite the bullet and pay the luxury tax and give Aiton a
Hmm.
You
max.
have no choice.
Yeah,
You have no
it
choice.
can't let him. They can't let him go. They can't do that.
No,
For sure.
no, no.
In today's
I
NBA,
yeah,
can't
you
do
can't
that.
do that.
Yeah,
No, no. Especially when you gotta face uh regular season now. I'm not talking about playoffs, but regular season. Cat, um, and whoever else is in the West. Like,
Whoever else.
I mean,
Jokic is a good
like,
name
oh
to
my
throw out
bad.
there.
Yeah, yo, my bad. Jesus. Yeah. See, you're rubbing off of me way too much, bro. I think you don't want to move on from Aiton at all.
yeah,
You don't. So I think it would make more sense for them to go ahead and lock him up for sure. You eat the luxury tax. Who cares? Like,
yeah.
you're gonna
Especially
find
you
another way
saw,
to get the
like I
money
said,
back.
they're selling out all these games now.
Yeah,
They can bite the bullet
it's
and pay the
easy.
luxury tax for sure.
That's easy. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Now, if you weren't, like, if you're like the Kings, nah,
yeah,
nah, you don't go into luxury tax.
For
But
sure.
you're a team that has the ability to make it to the finals for the next 5 to 6 years constantly.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? So you do what it takes to get that going. Like, bite the bullet. Now, if they don't want JaVale
yeah.
McGee, I'll take JaVale McGee.
Yep. JaVale
JaVale
McGee
McGee's
is
been balling this year.
hell
He's been
yeah.
balling for a couple of years, and people just don't like it.
Yeah,
I would take
yeah,
him, especially
I
as a
don't think
backup. Hell yeah.
I was about to say there's not a backup center in the league that gets more love on this show than JaVale McGee. Just
Yeah.
gotta say we talk about JaVale McGee all the time. But shout out
Oh my
to J.
god.
Cole number 3 right there. Always
Yeah.
super productive. Super productive.
you got the different stages of
Like,
J Cole. Tobias
yeah,
Harris is young J
I
Cole.
must say that was Tobias is Forest Hills Drive, and JaVale
Yeah.
is KOD.
Oh man, that's great. That is great.
That's
Um,
hilarious.
I'm trying to think of other potential fits for Clay, and something that came to mind. Now, call me crazy. Call me crazy. But why not? Um, I think if anyone says no, it's the Warriors. But another team we were talking about earlier, the Sixers. Imagine that swap. James Harden for Clay Thompson. I think doesn't
Oh,
doesn't answer any issues for the Warriors. But if you're the Sixers, you take that trade any day of the week, man.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
yeah,
For sure.
for sure. And it'll be interesting with Golden State to have James Harden as your primary point guard and just have Steph run all around the court like he does. And James Harden could do what he is capable of doing now, being that facilitator, being that bearded Ricky Rubio. He can do that for the
Yeah, you
Warriors
do
for
that
sure.
there. Yeah.
Do with Poole and everybody, yeah,
He
that'll be
would
fun.
thrive. Yeah, he would
Yeah.
thrive down there.
He'll be listed as a point guard for sure.
Oh yeah.
But why don't we move on to the most important series on the sideline, guys? The Bucks going up against the Celtics. Now I'm gonna lead the dance here, and then I'm gonna throw to Damien, and then I'm gonna let you go because I know we're all gonna have to rebut whatever you say. But it's exciting times nonetheless. I just want to say, man, like, can we remember a time defending champs were doubted this much? Like, can we remember a time
Mm.
where defending champs were counted out this much? Um, I don't think so.
Mm.
And what has been exciting for me in this series is obviously I want to see a little bit of pain on Derrick's face. But beyond just
Yeah.
that, this team really surprised me. The fact that they've been able to produce the way they have with Chris Middleton on the sidelines. Shout out to Chris Middleton, man. I gotta call his stylist, bro. The drip has been impeccable on the
Oh
sidelines. But
yeah. He looked better than Ben Simmons.
Dude, I gotta get those earrings too. Those studs, bro. Those studs. He's flexing. But
Yeah.
they've been able to really get some quality minutes out of a lot of different guys and fill
Mm-hmm.
those points in a really interesting way. And I'm a big fan of what Brooke Lopez has been able to do in this series as well. I think
Mm-hmm.
it was a big talk about how Giannis is going to be in a tough situation in this series. And don't get me wrong, he's been going through it. But he has also produced at a level that, although it's already expected of him, I think he deserves praise for, because this is the best defensive team in the NBA, and let's not forget about that shit. Regardless of the fact that
Yeah.
Robert Williams has been down, scheme wise, this has been such a fun series to watch because it's always competitive, no matter who's up. I think it was not this last game, but the previous game. There was a big swing where at one point the Bucks were up 10, and then at the next point the Celtics were up 10, and I'm like, this is the closest 10-point game I've ever
Mm-hmm.
watched. Like, this game,
Mm-hmm.
even though there's been these big swings, like, this has been hyper competitive all throughout. So I've
Mm-hmm.
I've really been loving this series, and I just gotta say this because I know it's gonna bring so much pain to Derrick. But that last 2 minutes of that last game was
Mm-hmm.
beautiful to watch. Like,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say it because whatever, this team, like, say what you want about champs, say what you want about they're the champions for a reason. Like, they willed that victory. That was an L, and they made play after play to put themselves in position to have a chance to win. Um, and just defensively, being able to step up big in those moments when it matters the most. Drew Holiday has been balling, hitting big shots on top of making big plays on the defensive end, really stepping up to sort of fill that void. I just been super impressed by the Bucks, and obviously also at the same token impressed by the Celtics. They make really big shots, and that tandem of Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum is just phenomenal to watch. But I am concerned about the Celtics. I am concerned, and I've been seeing a lot of stuff you've been posting, and I know that you're very confident, and I understand why. Like, you're gonna root for your team 100%. But I just feel like this matchup is a lot closer than a lot of people expected. A, but B,
Mm-hmm.
um, the Bucks have come through big in moments that mattered, that set them up to be in this position, and in my opinion, for anyone to be saying at this point that the Celtics are still the favorite to win this series, I think you're a little delusional. But it's been super exciting. This has been one of my favorite series, honestly, in recent memory. And I think
Yeah.
no matter who loses this next year, watch out because there's going to be a big fire in their belly for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree with everything that Chris said. One thing that really stood out for me last night, it reminded me of when David Robinson won MVP. And you remember
Mm-hmm.
the famous Hakeem Olajuwon series where he was like, "This dude's the MVP." He like snatched the MVP from him basically in that series. I feel
Mm-hmm.
like Drew Holiday did that to Marcus Smart last night. Like, this dude's defensive player of the year. Let me snatch the defensive player of the year from you.
Man, chill,
And
bruh.
let me get that. Let me get that back because the plays he
Man.
made. So the block,
Mm-hmm.
the awareness to know right when he was going up, to know to come with that left hand to make that block, and then the people that are talking about him throwing it off of Marcus Smart because he's going to throw it in and then knows that Marcus Smart has his hands up, so hits him right in the chest to throw it off. The awareness right there from
And
Drew
the toe
Holiday was
tap.
just nuts.
Don't forget that's a wide
Yes,
receiver toe tap right there.
Yeah, yeah,
yes.
yeah.
So to
Yeah.
stay in bounds and throw it off like crazy play. And then at the
Mm-hmm.
end, to notice that Marcus Smart's hand on the ball wasn't good. Like, he didn't have a good hand on the ball as he was coming up on that last play. So he notices that and like, oh, I can go for the steal right here. A lot of people, I'd have been scared to go for the steal at that point. Like, oh, I don't want to foul him. But he knew like they needed a three. So even if I foul him, we're good. So he knew he could be aggressive, goes and gets that steal. Like, that was, I've been telling people about Drew Holiday for years. You know, I'm a Pelicans fan, so I've seen it while other people didn't see it because we weren't being successful at the time. I was like, Drew Holiday is the truth, man. And that's what we
Yeah.
saw last night. And to other points that Chris mentioned, Giannis just solidified himself as the best player in the league. Even if Boston wins game 6 and 7, he solidified himself as the best player in the league, right? Because people were saying that they were hesitant to do it because Kevin Durant's still there. We saw what Kevin Durant did against his defense. He was not able to be productive on a consistent basis. Even it got in his head at one point, right? Kevin Durant, game 3, that was only shot 11 shots, It got in his head. Boston's defense
Mm,
was in Kevin Durant's head. He wasn't comfortable on the court. Giannis,
mm,
no matter what they're gonna do, he's gonna be aggressive. Now, he may be aggressive and go 9 for 30, but he's gonna be aggressive and he's gonna keep going at you. And no matter what
mm,
you do, he's gonna keep coming. So I love this series, man. Boston, if they do lose tomorrow night, I think they had the future is just so bright right there, man. So I know it's hard to hear, Derek, but the future is super is super bright down there. And I just this series has been phenomenal, man. Like this is a great second round series. Like in defense is entertaining
mm,
when played. Like
mm,
people
mm,
sleep on defense. Oh, we want to see points scored, but when you see two teams going after it, like it's super entertaining to watch that, man. And this has
mm.
been that type of series all the way through.
And before you go, Derek, I just have to make this point. I know I'm doing it again, but I actually disagree with something that you said, Damien. I feel like on that last play with Marcus Smart, they had a foul to give, and I think he was trying to foul. And the
He was
fact that
trying to
they
foul.
didn't call it was very interesting there because I think it was a deserved foul, but at the same time, it did touch ball, so I guess it's a bang bang play. And in the playoffs, the way they've been officiating, it makes sense that it went that way. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah, super aggressive and super aware. And I agree with what you said.
Mm,
Usually, if they were in the bonus 100%, that's all you're thinking about is not fouling. But given that
yeah.
they had that foul, I think it was good strategy to go for it the way he did, and it paid off big. But Derek,
Yeah.
please, I can't wait to hear what you got to say.
um, this series has been annoying as hell to me, honestly. I think we've been robbed of a classic series because games 1 through 4 have been horribly officiated. I think that I think the refs have been way too involved in the outcome of those games. So game 5 is the only one that I can look at. And I'm like, that's not there's I don't see anything that's egregious that wasn't called. But I mean, the Celtics should be 3-2 right now. It shouldn't even be 3-1. It shouldn't be 3-2. Milwaukee should be 3-2. Boston. Um, because honestly, the game we saw last night, Boston gave that up. Like, yeah, Milwaukee won, but Boston handed them that W. It wasn't that Milwaukee was able to just like grit it out and and all like, oh, this is no, no. Boston handed them that W. Like, so I've been annoyed because it's supposed to be a classic matchup. This to me, both ends, amazing defensive plays, amazing blocks on both ends. Um, Giannis, I agree, has likely put himself as the best player, but the way he plays annoys the hell out of me. Like, you can't charge into the paint and that's a basketball move. You can't do that. You can't do that. That's egregious. So between that and and a lot of traveling that I've seen that hasn't been called, I think we've been honestly robbed of a phenomenal classics, like one of those like must go back and watch, no matter if you're a fan of the team that lost or not. Like, you gotta go back and watch the whole series again because it's just that good. Like, that's what this had the potential of being, and it just, to me, it's just whatever. um I do believe Boston wins this series, though. I think in spite of all of that, they still win the series. Robert Williams is coming back tomorrow, right? Like, and part of you talking about them having that great defense, I think what gets lost in the side of having Williams out there is the fact that offensive rebounding has been like something that we struggle with when he's not on the floor. And boom, if you look at what happened game 5, offensive rebounding was trash. Those Just that alone, I think, is going to be able to set the series apart. So you get Rob Williams back out there, even if he's not 100%. I don't care. Sore knee. Like, you get out there and just be a presence in the paint. I don't care if I don't care if he doesn't score a lot of points, but all he does is just block and rebound. That's it. Because now you're able to play the game a little differently. Jason Tatum, though, I will say, he's come back to the level we've expected him to play on. But what he needs to stop doing is complaining. I love Tatum, but he like the every time you're going into the paint and getting touched, you can't just cry to the ref every single time and expect to win a game like that. You got to get back on defense. And when you're late getting on defense, little things can happen to where that the opposing team scores. Right, we've seen that multiple times in this series. So I think just a couple of things just need to be cleaned up. Like Boston is to me, like Giannis is probably Giannis is the most dominant player in the series, but Boston is the better team for sure. Boston is definitely the better team, and that's not me being a homer saying that. I would tell you right now if I thought they were a trash team and just like no, they're not. Like this, they are the better team. They just have to play like the better team. Like they've gotten into their heads a couple of times in this series, and you can see where that has taken place to where they're not playing to their potential. And like last in game 5, we saw the first 3 quarters they're dominating, right? And then all of a sudden fourth quarter, you see a little bit of like they let off the gas. You can't do that. You can't let off the gas. You can't play conservative down a stretch like that. You got to go for it, balls to the wall type thing, man. So they're playing for their season tomorrow night, and I think that you will see them play like that. I think you will see them pay more attention to the finer details. And I think they forced a game 7, and anything goes in that point. If they officiate game 6 and 7 the way they did game 5, I just want fair officiating. That's all I want. I don't like, even if we lose, just officiate the game in a fair manner, because there's been way too many times where the game has been in the hands of the refs, not just in this series, but in all of the playoffs, where the refs have decided the outcome of the game. And I don't like that. So I think if they can do more of the same of what they did with Game 5, Game 6 and 7, just do that, and I think you can see, because they figured something out in terms of defending Giannis, and I don't know why they got away from it. Ime Udoka has to stop sitting Grant though. Like for big chunks of a game, you can't sit Grant like that, especially in the fourth quarter. He need Grant on Giannis, and if if uh if he just put him out there for like a minute earlier, I think the slippage wouldn't have been as bad. I think we would have won, but I think it would have been like maybe like by like a point or two. I don't think we would have seen that big swing that we saw in that last 2 minutes. So call me a homer. I don't care. Anyone that's watching this, I do not care. Boston should be winning this series. Boston is the better team in this series, and I think they will play like that. I think they'll play like that. Marcus, you talk about that last play though. That 5 seconds left with no timeouts, and there's not real clear communication as to where everybody needs to be.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we saw is there was no communication, and now Marcus has to go make a play. That's what you don't want.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I think that's more of um more of a mistake than, oh, Drew put the clamps on Drew on Marcus, because I've been seeing that a lot lately, and that's some disrespectful stuff right there. Drew did not clamp Marcus down. He made him. That was an amazing play, amazing defensive play. I can't lie. That was just phenomenal. Drew is a phenomenal player, but come on now. Drew put the clamps on Marcus. I've seen that a lot on social media. I think that's the one thing that annoys me about social media and basketball games. Everybody lives in that present moment where you're just looking at one clip, one
Yeah.
play, and now you're making a whole big to do. Oh no, now this guy is no longer the MVP. This guy is no longer like, you know what I'm saying, like that kind of thing. Like, come on now, stop. What are we talking about? What are we talking about? Marcus plays the way he plays. I thought that was a horrible job of executing down the stretch. But they'll clean that stuff up. I think we're going to see a much better game. I'm hoping game 6 and 7 turns out to be what I was hoping the whole series would be, which is a battle that is classic. That I want that classic battle. We haven't had that classic battle in my opinion yet. So as great of as much entertainment as you guys may have had with the series, It's annoying as hell. This series is annoying because I don't like that the refs have decided the first 4 games. I don't like that, and I don't care if that's. I'm saying that even in regards to if it's been in Boston's favor. I don't like that the refs have made this a thing to where now they're deciding who wins the game. I don't like that. I don't that's I'm as a basketball fan, I don't want to see that. Not as a Celtics fan. I don't want to see it as a basketball fan. I just want to see fair officiating. Give me fair officiating. Let the guys do what they do. The chips fall where they may. Either way, whoever wins, like you said, whoever loses is going to still like next. The window is open for both teams. I think we're going to be seeing Boston and Milwaukee battle it out for the next couple of years, whether that's in the Eastern Conference Finals or not. And if they do the 1 through 16 seeding, that might be another interesting factor right there. You don't know what can happen. That would be a great final series to see. To me, this is the finals in my opinion because it has that feel to it. But yeah, Giannis, come on now, you can't be kicking people in the face and stuff like that. I don't like that. Nah.
I got two. I got two
that was
bits.
definitely on purpose. I don't want to call him a dirty player. Okay, I don't want to say he's a dirty player, but he's doing that on purpose. Like he's doing that on purpose. You like what I'm seeing from Giannis is not basketball. That's just like go play for the Packers. Like you want to bowl into the lane like that. Go play for the Packers. They need some more help. Wide receiver. You can help Aaron Jones out and running back, something like that. I don't want to see that. That's not basketball. That's football.
Dude, I just gotta say it's so funny to me hearing and I agree with what you said. I feel like in this series more so than any other, that has been an issue. But I feel like the Celtics benefited from it way more than the Bucks did.
What
Shout
the
out,
officiating?
yeah, 100%. And this is why.
How?
And this is why. You ready? You ready? You ready? You can't be the team. Listen to this. You can't be the team that leads the league in charges and complain about 50-50 plays. Um, did you see the way real quick? Giannis is in foul trouble every single game. I admit
Giannis
there's
should have fouled out for every game in this series.
no
He should have
hell
fouled.
no.
Yes.
Okay, let me just say this real quick and then I'll let you rock. My biggest issue with this Celtics team is not the fact that they
Mm,
play for charges. It's the fact that they flop over and over again, and then they bitch when thing doesn't come their way on the same exact play on the other end. Now, I
yeah.
think there's been a lot of fair fouls that have been called that in the moment I'm watching and I'm like, no, 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 like that's not a foul. And then they show the replay and I'm like, yeah, that's a foul. I would have called that foul if I
Mhm,
was playing. So yeah, I feel them.
mhm.
But at the same time, I feel like Celtics have benefited from more bang bang plays that when you watch the replay, I don't
Mm.
know if that's an outright foul in the way that it's called, in my opinion.
I don't agree with that. I think Milwaukee has benefited more. You know why? Because Giannis he should have fouled out majority of the series already. Yeah, they've ignored like that. Take for instance the foul that Giannis got on Tatum on that um while he was trying to block that dunk was a game 4. He elbowed him in the left side of his face. That's a flagrant. That's a flagrant foul that they did not call. That was just called a regular foul. But Giannis, no, I'm sorry, Bobby Portis, game 3. You remember when Marcus Smart threw that? I mean, trying to make that free throw and bounced it
He
off,
missed
and then they were going
on
for the
purpose.
rebound.
Yeah.
He missed a free throw and got the rebound. On the rebound, Bobby Portis clobbered him in the head, no call. And not only did that happen, but they didn't even call the foul on the 3-point shot that sent him to the line. They said that was a
That
regular foul.
that was
You see what I'm
definitely
saying?
a
That's
big missed call. It should have been
they
a 3-point shot. Yeah.
that should have been 3-point shot. That should have been game over right there. Game over. That's what I'm saying. Like, yeah, we've benefited from some calls. I'm not saying we haven't, but Milwaukee has benefited from more, significantly more. And if they win this series because of that, I like that. That is what I'm going to be pissed about. I'm not going to be pissed about losing to Milwaukee. I'm going to be pissed that if we lose this series, that's why we lost. We played a hand in losing too. Not saying we haven't, especially with game 5. That Boston should not let that one go. But aside from that, Yeah, pretty much everything else has been because the refs has decided what the outcome was gonna be, and I don't like.
What I don't like about this, and then I'll let you rock because we're going back and forth here, Damien. I need to let you in this. But my biggest thing that I don't like about this conversation is I agree both teams have benefited in certain spots, but I think your argument isn't that on aggregate both teams are equal, because I don't agree with that. I think the bigger moments, as far as time left on the clock, etc., tend to swing in Milwaukee's favor. But in my opinion, if we're doing a super cut of all these games, Boston has gotten way more fouls in their favor, in my opinion. But yes, please.
If we're talking about egregious calls, okay, let's just say that if we're talking about those egregious fouls that should be called that weren't called, you're going to sit here and say that Milwaukee has not benefited from that more so than Boston?
I will say they definitely benefited from late, more important moments. But on aggregate, I think Boston has definitely benefited from a lot of calls that they've gotten and no calls that they haven't gotten. There's been a lot of fouls. Dude, I'm telling you, please, I'm telling you, watch specifically. It's not even just Giannis. A lot of it is Drew as well. Please, trust.
That was the case. I wish, because we would be up and this series have been over. If that's the case, the series have been over. Like, no question. They're defending champs though. They're not gonna let the defending champs get knocked out.
Oh no! Don't do this. Not on our show. Not on our show. Don't do that. Don't do that.
No. Otherwise, I'm serious. I'm so serious. I truly do believe that a lot of the moves that Giannis has made in the paint, they have not called. To me, that's egregious. To me, that's big. That's a big swing. But I don't like.
I feel like we're getting to that Shaq territory with Giannis, though, where he's just super hard to officiate, right? There's going to be some times where he gets away with a few offensive fouls here and there, for sure, definitely. But there's also times where he's getting just banged around in there and nothing's getting called because he's so big and so strong. I feel like it goes both ways with him.
I think on average it does, but in this series, that's not what I've seen. And I could be wrong. I don't have a problem saying that. I could be wrong, but from what watching it live, he has definitely got more calls where they're calling fouls on guys. For example, Peyton Pritchard. How the hell is Peyton Pritchard fouling Giannis, like undercut in the paint to make Giannis fall out? Peyton Pritchard, who's probably my height. I'm 5'10". Okay, I don't know where Peyton is. I think he's somewhere in that range. But you're telling me he goes to box out Giannis and makes Giannis fall on the floor? Come on now. Come on, bro. That doesn't make sense. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah,
things like that
going on both ways. But Marcus Smart, is
Marcus Smart is a flopper. Yeah, Marcus Smart is a flopper. I'm not gonna lie about that. Marcus does flop. Yeah. But
how you catch a charge on a pick, bro? Can we talk about that? That shit pissed me off, bro. How you catch a charge on a pick? Like,
how about this? The refs told Ime specifically they're not calling any calls. They're not going to call any offensive charges unless the players fall. They told him that specifically after game 3 or 4.
That's crazy.
They're not going to make those calls unless the guys fall. So what are you supposed to do? What are you supposed to do? Hit the floor. I don't argue. They should have done it more. I want to see at least 6 flops on Giannis in the next game. I want to see it. Now I want to see it. I want to see Marcus flop. I want to see Derrick White flop. I want to see Peyton flop. Trying to guard him. I want to see Al Horford. Yeah, but you can't really get away with Grant doing it. You can get away with the smaller guys doing it on Giannis. Grant, you could argue this is either way, and which they have argued that he's fouled Giannis when he really didn't foul Giannis. But yeah, flop. I need some flops. I need at least 4 flops on again when guarding Giannis tomorrow. I need at least 4 to 6. Give me 4 to 6, I'll be happy.
I
however,
just find it so
however it plays
funny,
out.
bro. I just find it so funny
Yeah,
that you're like, the refs are the ones in charge of these games, and then you're like,
I
flop,
never
bro,
listen.
flop.
Listen, you got to play the game. Like you got to play the game now. Like this is what they're showing that they're going to call. They're going to call when you flop. I've seen Grayson Allen flop. I've seen Giannis flop. I've seen Bobby Portis flop. So like
Portis
if
is the
all these guys are
biggest
going to
one.
start flopping, I need all y'all niggas to flop. Like all y'all got to flop. All y'all go down. That's what I want to see. That's what I want to see. I just fall. Let's just all five of them. In fact, all five of them should pack the paint. And when Giannis comes in down to charge,
Like
like I
bowling
want to see something
pins.
ridiculous.
Like
Yeah,
bowling
I
pins,
want to see
just
something
drop.
ridiculous now. Yeah, even if we lose, flop, just flop. I like because that's how ridiculous these refs have been lately. But yeah, game five, they called a beautiful game. I don't have a problem with the officiating in game five. That was fair. I give it to them. You know, there was some plays where I was thinking live like, oh, that's not foul. But you go back to replay, Jalen Brown, yeah, that's a foul.
You think
So
about
I
that
can't get
Grant
mad at that.
Williams one too, right?
Yeah, I can't be mad at specific calls. That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm okay if you're gonna call it straight down the middle or as close to the middle as possible. You're gonna miss some calls, so I'm okay with that. But you can't sit here and dictate who wins a game, whether it's us or Milwaukee. You can't decide who wins. Like the players have to and the coaching. Like those are the things that I need to see that decides who wins this game. I don't or this series. I should not. It shouldn't be that the refs decide four of them and then you like, oh yeah, now y'all do the rest of it. No, no, no. Boston's been in a handicap match this entire series outside of Game Five. I don't like
Oh
that.
my
Oh
I don't like
god.
that.
Oh my god.
And look,
The
look.
refs
I'm not
came
I'm
out with
not into
Stone
the
Cold music.
they no, they were yes. The refs were all wearing Milwaukee Bucks jerseys, bro, underneath their uniforms. Yes.
Oh man. I didn't think
Yeah,
I didn't
I'm
think
not.
I could get
I
this
don't
out
want
of
to go
you.
down this route.
I didn't
I don't like going down this route. Trust me, I don't like going down this route. I hate saying this stuff. I hate saying it. But like this is what they've been doing. The refs have been calling these games. I don't like that. Whether we've won the game or not, the refs have decided who wins the game in four games, and then now you're gonna see who plays out. I don't like that. I don't like that. I
I will
think they're
say
trying
this.
to force it to seven.
Yeah. I will say this in your defense. When I was the first round, I'm rooting for the Pelicans. I definitely saw every missed call on the Suns in that series. But because
Yes,
I'm rooting for the Pelicans in that
yes,
series, it's like,
you can
come
see
on,
it.
man. They want Phoenix to win because they was the one seed. That's why. That's like it
Yeah,
comes into your head when you're rooting for that team for sure. So I understand
yeah,
where you're coming from, but me and Chris are
yeah,
coming from just outside perspectives on it. So I think that's why
for
we're seeing
sure.
it a little more clear. But I definitely understand where you're coming from. Like I said, last series, I definitely was saying all that stuff about Phoenix. I was like, he elbow Alvarado in the mouth. They didn't even call it. They didn't even call
Listen,
it.
listen. To be fair, I've seen them not call fouls on Boston. Like
Yeah,
this is just one way. That's my point. This is not just one way. That like they're missing egregious calls against Boston. I don't like that.
yeah,
Do we benefit? Yes, but I don't like it. I want to see the game play out because at the end of the day, I'm a basketball fan. I want to see the series play out the way it should. This should be one of those series that you're looking at 25 years down the road. That was a classic. I
yeah.
can't say that with this, man. That's not what I'm seeing. What I'm seeing is a lot of crying and whining. Like I don't like that. I don't like that.
I
And that's on
think
both
that's a big
sides.
issue. Yeah, that's a big issue in the league. Period. Like I feel like the
It
players
is.
they
It
need
is.
to like just have a meeting amongst each other. I think CJ McCollum's the player president now for the player association.
Mm-hmm.
Just get them all
Mm-hmm.
together. Like, hey, we got to stop complaining on every call. And some of the
Yeah.
times it's so obvious. Like some of the calls are so obviously fouls that they complain on. That's the
Yeah.
thing. If there's a foul where it really was bang bang, you feel like you had your hands up. Okay, I get it. I'm a ball player. I've been there in my,
Mm-hmm.
very low level of basketball playing in adult rec leagues where our referees
Mm-hmm.
suck. And I'm like, come on, bro. What do you do? I've been there. I've seen that, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I'll never forget the one that stands out in my mind all the time when I talk about this. Draymond Green poked LeBron James so hard in the eye that the
Yeah.
man had a black eye. And he was
Yeah.
complaining about the call as if his finger didn't go knuckle deep in this man's eye socket. I was like, how are you complaining about this call right now when you literally gave the
Yeah,
man a black eye and he
yeah,
went crazy? How can you call? It's like, come on, bro. So
yeah.
like Jason Tatum's really bad. The worst is probably Luka. Like every
Luca's
call,
horrible.
yeah,
Yeah,
every time he drives, like you get fouled every
yeah,
time, Luka. Every time, Luka.
yeah,
So I think that's a,
yeah.
a problem with the league. Period. When it
It's a
comes to
league.
that, yeah,
It is a league issue. It is a league
yeah,
issue. I mean, but I, you know, I don't like seeing it at all
Mhm.
yeah.
on any team. But I'm telling you what, I don't like seeing it with my team. I hate seeing that mess, man. Like Tatum's got to stop with that mess. Like I need you to run back on defense. Like
Yeah.
argue it on a dead ball. I don't want to see you arguing it when you're supposed to be on defense. You're supposed to be covering. I don't. No, don't do that. Don't do that. So I mean, I got criticism for both teams, but Grayson Allen trying to draw like a foul and get mad when he gets called for a foul, but you're hooking Daniel Tice up in the arm. Like, come on, bro. Like, you get mad when you're obviously doing something wrong. Like no, that's just dumb. That's dumb.
It's playing the
And
game, though.
it
Like you said, it's playing
he
the
is
game
playing. He is, but it makes it harder when you're actually fouled
to
and
determine. Yeah.
yeah, like you can't even argue that you actually got fouled because you've been crying wolf the whole series.
Yeah.
Like
And that's the
you can't
predicament
do that.
the refs are in my opinion. I think on a
I don't feel bad for
whole,
the refs. I
no,
don't
no,
feel bad for
listen
the
to me.
refs.
I think on a whole, this whole playoffs has been honestly better than last season. And the reason why I say that is because
Mm.
they're letting these teams fucking play. Like regardless of the foul
That's what
call
I
here or
like.
there, they're letting them play.
Yeah,
And we didn't really see that on a consistent basis, especially in the playoffs. Like there's a difference in my opinion, and everyone likes to say that there isn't, but there's a difference as far as how you should officiate a regular season game versus in the playoffs. And I agree with that. That's something I
I
subscribe to.
yeah. No, I agree with you on that part in terms of like the is they've been letting them play a little harder. I'm fine with that part, but for example, game 4, Giannis slapped someone in the head, right? That wasn't even called a foul. Al Horford goes up for a monster, like a poster dunk on Giannis, which I still love that. And that was called a flagrant one. The exact the exact same like swipe down on Giannis was called a flagrant one, but when it was done to I think Al Horford beforehand, or maybe it was Tatum beforehand from Giannis, that wasn't called.
That Al
Like
Horford play was
that's
bad though, and let me tell you why. Because the swipe down came after he landed. That's a big difference.
you can argue that's momentum, but it's still a swipe down.
I
Either way,
feel
you
you,
can argue it's momentum. You can argue it,
but
but
the fact
it's
he's
still a
not in
swipe
the
down, and
air
I'm fine with that.
is what's big to
That's what I'm
me.
saying.
The fact that he's no
I'm
longer in
fine
the
with that being
air,
called. I'm fine with that being called a flagrant one. I'm fine with that.
but call it on both
Call that on
sides. Is what you're
Giannis.
saying, yeah.
That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. I don't want to see Giannis get away with basically roundhouse kicks and elbows to guys, and that's not even called anything. But then someone else does something less egregious than what he does, and that's a flagrant one.
But if it's being called,
Come on.
my issue is if it's being called mid-air versus, well, if it's not being called mid-air versus it's being called when they're on the ground, I think I understand that more. Because if you're mid-air, there's a lot more things to look at versus seeing
Yeah,
that swipe land on the bottom. If
and I'm
you
telling you,
already
Giannis did it
landed,
midair to Tatum.
if
I'm
you
telling you,
already
he did it
landed,
same game.
then there was another game where he did it when he was on the floor. But that's my point. If you're
Yeah.
mid-air as a ref, that's harder to even notice because of those things. So I agree with you. It should be called. But at the same time, elevating it to a flagrant one, I think that's because he was already on the ground. They argue you have a better control of your body in that spot. I agree with you. It's a bang bang tough play either way. Hell, we saw dudes get hit by their own teammates midair. That's what led to
Giannis
Giannis's
got
cut.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
shit happens, and especially with swipe downs, shit happens.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
but I feel like those plays where people are midair and in that contact space, that leads
Mm-hmm.
to let more no calls. Not just
Mm-hmm.
because it's harder to see because they're midair, but
Mm-hmm.
the contact that they're looking at isn't the
Mm-hmm.
follow through. It's the initial contact. So sometimes a lot of these plays,
Mm-hmm.
you could argue plays that are getting called as fouls. There's fouls on the back end too. that aren't getting called because there was already a
Oh, for
foul
sure.
called. So I
For
think a
sure.
big part
But
about
that's
it
what I'm
is
saying.
placement.
Consistency, though. Like I said,
But that is
you're gonna
consistent.
miss some calls. No, you're gonna miss some calls. That's that, and I'm fine with that. Like if you miss a call here and there, like okay, you just weren't in position. Get it.
Hmm.
But when those fouls occur where you can actually see, bro, I literally saw, who was it? I think it was Giannis. Giannis swiped down on Marcus Smart, which led before you remember in game 4 when they got tied up and Giannis didn't want him to take his hand and he kicked him in the face and all that stuff. What caused that right there was Giannis draping Smart, hit him on the side of the head in front of the ref, and they didn't call that. Over the back foul. You know what I'm saying? But you don't call it. So my only gripe is if you're not going to call that, don't call some other stuff. That's in the same realm. That's all. That's my only point. That's my only point. Win or lose, just be consistent. That's all I want. You're gonna miss some calls, but be consistent with calling the ones that you do see. That's it. That's it. And if we lose, we lose. But
And
be
to be
consistent.
fair,
That's it.
I think Marcus Smart doesn't get the benefit of the doubt on those plays, not because um, he's someone that's infallible, but because
For the flops.
he's someone that for that size can actually box out. So it's very easy when
Right.
people that are taller than you, um, that go up over you, for them to call it as clean because you're down there anyway. So I agree with
Mm-hmm.
you on that. I think that's something that should be looked at and should be more accounted for. But at the same time, I feel like as a whole, the amount of calls that Marcus Smarts gets versus the amount of calls that he does not get, I think that definitely is in his favor. So I agree with you though. Let's keep it in the middle. Let's keep each team
That's
as
all. That's all.
advantageous as possible. But the issue with that is, and this is the last thing I'm gonna say, excuses for the refs. Um, I think they end up in a spot where exactly what we're talking about. We got to keep this in the middle. We got to make a call. We got to make this call. We got to make that call. And then before you know it, one bad foul gets missed, and then from that point forward, now we're overcorrecting the steering wheel, and now we're going all the way out of the range of where we
Mm-hmm.
should be, and calling things
Mm-hmm.
that shouldn't be called just to make up for the foul in the last play. So
Yeah.
it's a hard
Which is
job.
why
It's a hard
which
job.
is why there should be a ref that's watching on screen. Like if you're gonna have 3 officials there, 2 on the floor, 1 on the sideline watching on screen, and you just pay attention to the play that way so you can see different angles.
Dude.
I think
That's
you
it.
just pay a
That's
fourth
it.
ref. Just pay a fourth ref to do that.
Or pay a 4th ref. Yeah, I like
Yeah.
either way. I don't care, but just like somebody needs to be monitoring it, because especially when you're stopping the game all the time to go look at these different calls, like and like you made rule changes so that that doesn't happen, right? And all we're seeing is that take place. Like that doesn't make sense. Make the right call as much as possible. Leave it at that. That's all I'm asking for.
Give me that
That's all I'm
fourth
asking for.
ref. Give me that fourth ref with the drone cam from the NFL. Let them sit there with the Joy-Con and let them decide where they want to be. I think that'll be fire. I think that'll add another element to these games for sure.
Hey, yeah,
A
for
couple
sure. You
guys
can
getting
pay
hit by
for
a
it.
drone. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh man, I just can picture it now. The ref has lost control of the drone. The ref
Yeah.
has lost control.
Oh man, that'd be hilarious.
Well,
That'd be
hey,
nice.
I just want to make it clear. I hope this doesn't come off like it was just me and Damien piling up on you on this.
Yeah.
Oh
A
no,
hundred
look,
percent. A hundred percent.
I'm used to going against everybody, so it don't matter to me. This is light work.
But no, that's not why I
Y'all
said
weren't
it.
horrible. Y'all weren't horrible to me. Like I've been getting clowned every single time we lose. I get a mention. I get it whenever we win. Everybody's quiet. Everybody's quiet.
Yeah.
I feel
But the
you.
last 3 losses, my phone is blowing up. Mentions blowing up. I don't like that. I don't like that. I don't like. See, this is
Yeah.
cool. I'm like we can have a dialogue. I'm fine with that. Don't talk to me on social media about this stuff. Though.
I never have. There's been a couple
I know.
games where I'm like, let me hit up Derrick, and I'm like, you know what? He got enough. He got enough going on already.
It's already torturous. And I don't do that to any other fan base, right? Outside of the Cowboys, because that's hilarious. But for the most part, and actually even with them, there are people I don't like tag and say, hey yo, like y'all. No, I'll talk about the team, but I'm not going to tag you specifically and say whatever. Because guess what? Like you're feeling bad, right? I don't know any Brooklyn Nets fans. Sorry,
Neither
so
do
I
I,
can't.
and I live in New York, bro. I'm telling you.
So it was hard, to avoid. I mean, it's easy to avoid that with that because there's no fans. But like anyone else, if we beat them, I'm not going at you and all that stuff unless you come to me. You come to me, and then that gives me permission to go at you. That's it. That's it. But this is light work. Y'all weren't saying anything egregious. I'm good. I'm good.
I was saying, for the sake of the Twitter banter, a series that I was hoping we would get was Boston versus Warriors. It's still something that could happen, but
It still can happen.
I'd love to see you and Nat go back and forth on that. I think it'll be fucking hilarious. Because if anyone's a Twitter
Yeah.
warrior on the OTS team, I gotta say it goes to Nat. Shout out to
Oh,
all
for
Nat.
sure.
There's
Sure.
no larger Twitter warrior in the
Yeah.
space where on a
Yeah.
daily basis, and this is all love. Once again, this is all love. But on a
Yeah.
daily basis, I'm reading her shit, and I'm like, you really believe that? Like, you really believe? Like, it's not even like we gave you shit today for saying you weren't seeing things correct, but it's like, girl, god damn, I respect it. I respect the full send. I respect it. But just know when my Thunder is back and doing big things, I'm gonna be the same exact way. So I feel you, bro. I feel you.
You should, but that's a part of fandom, right? But again, if you're talking about just like if you're able to include uh nuancing and just details in your critique, even if you're a fan of a team, you're still gonna be able to say, okay, it was XYZ. That's what I'm saying. Like I'm fine with saying like we lost game 5. They won, but we handed them that win. Like they gotta play better. Like the Celtics they just had to play better. That's it. I can say that. I don't have a problem saying it. I told everybody 2 years ago we were absolute trash. We were absolute trash last year. So like I can say that, but I'm gonna be real about it and say whatever else I think is horrible. And that was the officiating.
When
So
it's coming to being real, when it's coming to being real, this is the last thing I want to ask you about this series, and then we could wrap things up for the week.
yes, sir.
And I hope this doesn't come off as me piling on, but I have to ask you.
Do it.
Fourth quarter, Jalen Brown. Can we talk about fourth
Yeah.
quarter Jalen Brown? Because I think there
Yeah.
is. Listen, when you're playing Marcus Smart, you're already in a disadvantage on the offensive side of the ball, and that's no disrespect. He's made a lot of strides in that area, but as a cohesive unit, you benefit from having Peyton Pritchard in a lot of those situations. Now,
Mm,
when we're in a position where your second primary ball handler is Jalen Brown,
mm,
in fourth quarter spots, it's tough because everyone is keying in on Jason Tatum already.
mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of room for him to be making these plays, and he's not coming through. Now, as a fan,
Mm-hmm.
how do you feel about fourth quarter Jalen Brown and what needs to be addressed in that way? Because I think even as simply as maybe even, um, but you can't take out Marcus Smart. So yeah, I don't have an answer for you. But what's your thoughts on that?
To be completely honest, if you're just talking about this series, I think it's Robert Williams not being there because now Jalen has to go do other things, right? You have to fill in the holes that other pieces have to fill in for the other hole. You see what I'm saying? Like you have to fill those gaps in. And when Robert isn't there, now Jalen has to go and play defense and pay attention to other things, right? Not that you don't have to do that when Robert's in there, but you
All
got to
bigger
figure out something
players.
else.
Yeah.
You have to guard bigger players, and Jalen guarding Giannis is not the matchup you want. That's just not what you want. But if Rob is in the game, Jalen is not guarding Giannis, and if he is, it's like maybe 2 possessions, 2 or 3 possessions. It's not a lot. So I think that's a lot of what you've been seeing. I think a lot of the mishaps and stuff like that. Like everybody keeps talking about we're missing, like they're missing Chris Middleton. We're missing Rob Williams. We were missing Marcus Smart. You know what I'm saying? Like beginning of the series. So like there's both teams are missing like a key element. And that's what I think also takes away from the how great this series could have been with them missing these 2 great pieces. I don't even call them both great. Let me not call them great, but dynamic pieces that help your offense become even better than what they are. Okay, and that's what frustrates me the most about this. But to answer your question, I think that Jalen has to step up. But I think what's been a big issue with that in the fourth quarter is you're not like Ime has to play Grant Williams. He can't sit Grant for a good chunk of the quarter, not the fourth quarter. You can't do that. But Jalen has to be able to. His handle has been very weird to me this year, and I think it's because of injury. But I don't want to lean on injury. He cannot turn the ball over like that. He can't do that, and I think that's been a big issue too. Is just being able to hold, maintain control. So I think those things get cleaned up. They're fine. I'm not worried about. I'm honestly not. This is probably the fastest I've been able to get over a loss in probably the entire time I've been a fan of the team. Honestly, this is the fastest I've been able to just like over a win a game you're supposed to win. This is what the fastest I've been able to get over. I like 2 hours after the game, I was over it. I was already over it. We'll get next game. Rob Williams will be back, but we'll see. We'll see. I think again, I think when you have to fill in so many gaps, like you got guys out of position, and that messes your defensive setup a lot, or your offensive set and schemes like that just messes you up. So yeah, no excuses, no excuses. Go out there and play better. But I think that was what we saw with Game 5 for sure, because it's not officiating. It wasn't officiating Game 5.
Mm-hmm.
It's just you're not in the right position. You got to be in a better position. That's it.
For sure.
And you got to communicate.
What do you
They'll
think
do that.
about that?
I'm not worried about it.
Nah, everything that he said was on point as far as with Jalen having different responsibilities. It does seem like at times you can see him maybe pressing a little bit in the fourth, where he's
Mhm.
forcing it in those moments where you feel like he has to. Now it's my turn. Jason
Mhm.
maybe took over for 3 straight possessions. Now it's my turn to go in, and he's feeling that pressure from that. So maybe if the offense is not Jason then Jalen, Jason then Jalen, maybe it's more free flowing. You don't have that pressure when you get that ball, and now it's like, oh, now I got to make something happen.
Mhm. Yeah,
It's a really great
I agree
shout
with
right
that.
there.
I agree. Which I think you'll see with Rob coming back into the fray.
Okay.
I'm excited
Yeah.
to see that. Now I'm gonna ask
Yeah.
a question to Damien, and then I'll
Okay.
let you close with your thoughts on this, Derek, because I already know what your answer is gonna be. On base, if both teams are 100% healthy, I know that something that Derek was saying earlier was, um, you know, we've lost this and this piece, but even then, we're still the better team. And I would argue the way that even Game 5 went, I agree with you. But if both teams are fully healthy, who do you think is the better team, Damien?
I would have to go Bucks. Like with this series being this close without Chris Middleton, really shows that Chris Middleton would be a very different factor in this series. I'm not saying that it would be a sweep or anything like that. I think it still would be a great series. My pick was Bucks in 7 without Chris Middleton because it's hard to go against Giannis, as I'm thinking he's now coming to this point in his career where he's in that Superman phase where it's just like it's
Mhm.
hard to pick against him right now in his prime, at the peak of his powers. But with Chris Middleton, you're
Mhm.
talking about 20 points a game, and he has his disappearing acts at times as well. But Drew Holiday is more of a third option, and right now he's asked to be the second option. I think that's really hurting their offense, right? Because you're
It
not
is.
really used to seeing Drew shoot 25 shots in the game. That's not really his game. So
Mhm.
if you have Chris Middleton there as a second option, I think that really changes things. So I have to go Bucks fully healthy.
Now go
Yeah.
ahead, Derek, please, and then I'll be the verdict on this one.
Um, I would of course say Celtics in 7, but that's because with Chris Middleton out on that floor for some reason, and I told you this last week, Chris. Chris Middleton, when he plays Boston, he turns into Michael Jordan. I don't get it. I don't understand it. But this dude just comes out of nowhere and he's just lighting us up from all angles and different ranges, like just different spots on the floor. He kills us, honestly. So I think it would have gone 7. If you're saying both teams are fully healthy,
Yep,
I would take Boston in 7 for sure,
I like that.
for sure.
And And I'm not gonna lie to you. I've thought about this a lot since even before I asked the question, just because I feel like I'm not really sure. Um, I think what pushes it over the edge for me is I feel like it's not even a matter of who's the better team or who's the better situation long term. I think it's about
Mm-hmm.
who has the experience right now, and that
Mm-hmm.
leans towards the Bucks.
It
But at the
does.
same
It does.
time,
Yeah.
I feel like if you ask me which team I would rather have, it's the Celtics. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the Bucks, even fully healthy, they have a lot of areas of their team that they're still trying to add pieces to, and we see that in
Mm-hmm.
in the off season. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time, I just feel like, especially with all those things being said, especially because I feel like I agree that Giannis is probably the best player in the NBA at the moment, and that includes
Mm-hmm.
both sides of the ball.
Mm-hmm.
I would say this season you gotta go with the Bucks in that series. But at the same time, long term, I would argue that the Celtics are poised to have a longer window than the Bucks are.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I
that's
mean, you
my
can't
thoughts
go
on that.
wrong either way.
Yep.
You honestly can't go wrong either way. Like I'm not mad either way. Like I'm just going with my
Hell
teams.
yeah.
I know my team,
Hell
so
yeah. Hell yeah.
bump it. I don't care. I'll
Hell
go down
yeah,
with
I
the
love
ship.
it. I love it. I love it. I mean, I put
I'm
you in a
loyal.
lose-lose situation, so don't worry.
Hey, I was
100%.
I was in a lose situation when the series started. It didn't matter. It didn't matter. I was in because anyway you sliced it. Anybody that I talked to about it, it was Boston ain't gonna be. These defending champs. Like, come on.
Mhm.
I'm not mad at that.
I just gotta say I love this, and shout out to y'all for making this super fun. I think this we say it every week, but this is one of my favorite episodes in recent memory,
Yeah.
just because we're able to go back and forth on a lot of range of different topics. It's not just one series; it's multiple. Obviously, the fire came out for this last one, but
Oh yeah.
I love it. I think it's there in every series, so it's awesome. Rapid
For sure.
fire. I just gotta ask you, Damien, because I know that you're a big boxing guy. Give me three fights that we need to see before the end of the year. Um,
Ooh.
Big time. I know I just put you on the spot right there,
Yeah.
but three fights we need to see before the end of the year. I'd love to get your thoughts on that.
So saying fights that I want to see made or fights that are already been made that people need to pay attention to.
Give us one that's already been made, and then two that you want to see made.
Okay. So this weekend we got Jermel Charlo, Brian Castano 2. Should be an excellent fight. The first one was excellent. I thought Castano probably edged him out in that first one, but it was scored a draw. This one's going to be an excellent fight. I know Charlo's going to be ready. He's been hearing the chirps about people like myself saying Castano won the first one. I think this is going to be a great fight on Saturday night on Showtime. If you're a boxing fan or you're looking to get back into boxing, this is definitely the fight to watch. As far as fights that need to be made, I want to see. So I had this theory on my podcast. You can tell me if I'm crazy or not. So this past weekend, we saw the pound for pound king Canelo fall to Dimitri Bivol. I think they should wait on the rematch. I think they should wait on the rematch. Canelo should defend his super middleweight title or titles against either David Benavidez or Jamal Charlo, the twin that's at middleweight. And Bivol should fight the winner of Joe Smith Jr. and Arthur Beterbiev. They're fighting for the unified light heavyweight championship. They can make it undisputed. So if Bivol takes care of business against the winner of Smith Jr. and Beterbiev, and Canelo defends his titles against either Charlo or Benavidez, next year we have the rematch. We have undisputed versus undisputed with Canelo versus Bivol, and you put all the titles on the line. You can have it at a catch weight, you can do it at 168, whatever it is. But undisputed versus undisputed, all 8 belts on the line. I know it's probably never happened, but if somebody steals his idea, I just want my credit. I just want I just want a shout out when it happens. But this will be a
Nah, if
yeah,
they
it'll
need
be
to pay
amazing.
you.
Yeah.
So I think that's like that series should happen as far as that. And another fight that should happen. Hopefully, we get it soon with Alexander Usyk versus Anthony Joshua. That rematch. Last year they had a phenomenal fight. That was my biggest upset pick. I won a lot of money on that one. Well, Alexander Usyk defeating Anthony Joshua. I think the rematch would be awesome. I know Joshua has been just waiting for this, and because of the situation in Ukraine, it's been pushed back. But now they're saying Usyk is back training and everything. So hopefully we get that fight later this year. And of course, Terrence Crawford, Errol Spence Jr. We got to get that fight made. Like, there's no excuses. Terrence Crawford's no longer with Top Rank, no longer under the ESPN umbrella. He can go to Showtime, make this happen. There's no excuses. Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford both been saying it. They've been talking differently. And in
Mhm.
years past, it's been like, oh, we might make it happen. It might not happen, or I might have to fight other people. They've been talking spicy about making this fight happen. So hopefully, it's not false seasoning when it comes to this, and it's real, it's real heat there. So those fights have to be made. I know I went over what you asked, but I just
I
get hyped
love
when I
it.
talk about boxing. So
I love it. No, I love it. And you hit on a lot of good stuff that I didn't even think about. Like
yeah,
really good shout on the undisputed titles.
yeah,
I think that'll be awesome. I doubt it'll happen, and it takes a lot to get there too.
yeah,
I'm a big fan of Joe Smith Jr., but I feel like Beterbiev is probably going to come out the other side of that one. So
yeah,
yeah, I think Bivol Beterbiev is honestly one of the better fights that you could make
yes,
across any weight class. And people sleep on it because obviously it's the Canelo show. Even after what happened last Saturday. But I'm gonna give you some ones that you didn't even say. Why not? I gotta fill in these gaps, right?
okay,
Uh, give me, and this probably isn't gonna happen. But this is a little bit of a selfish one. It isn't the most competitive match, but I think it's deserved. Uh, give me Andy Ruiz versus Deontay Wilder. I think that's
ooh,
a good bounce back
Oh man.
fight for Wilder, as well as a very big test for Ruiz. I really like that. And even though Ruiz's career kind of seems like in turmoil, I feel like every week he's with a different boxing trainer. But
yeah,
interested to see how that plays out. I really want to see Deontay Wilder back and not being counted out. I think he deserves a little bit of a step back to come back stronger. So that's one that I really like. Two, I know that you would have said this if there wasn't so many other big ones on the slate. But please, there's no other fight to make. We need Katie Taylor versus Amanda Serrano too.
oh
I
for
was
sure, yeah,
one of the best fights you could watch, regardless of gender, regardless of weight class. One of the best fights of the year, and super exciting stuff. I'm a Puerto Rican, so I don't give a fuck. I definitely scored it for. I definitely scored it for Amanda Serrano when she probably didn't deserve it. But I need to see that fight again, and don't give it to me in Croke Park like they were saying. Give it to me. Give it to me somewhere else. Give it to me somewhere neutral. I feel like having the mix of both fans is really what made it such a special night at MSG. Uh,
yeah,
the last thing, please, whatever you do, don't give us that shit in the Middle East. That's the last thing I need because it's not going to be the same electric response that you'll
yeah,
get regardless of the fight being goddamn electric. So that's a
yeah,
can't miss fight. No matter when they make that happen, it's gonna be fireworks the same way the first one was. So inject that shit into my veins. And then another one that I like, obviously, any of the ones you mentioned are on my list too. But you got to go with the sleepers here. Shakur Stevenson needs to move up. There's nobody in that weight class for him,
mhm,
and the best person to do that against, why not? Let's make Shakur Stevenson versus Ryan Garcia. Now, Ryan
ooh,
Garcia's fans are like, hold on, please, please don't do that. But I think that's the perfect showcase fight for Shakur Stevenson because you're having someone that's gonna come out, that's gonna come after you, and that
mm,
not only plays into his style in a beautiful way that'll make a good matchup for both guys, but two is gonna force Shakur Stevenson to do some things that he hasn't been forced to do, and that is actually fight back in some of those scenarios and really stand your ground in those combinations. So really big fan of Shakur Stevenson. He's someone that doesn't get the respect he deserves because of his style.
yeah.
But at the same time, he is huge for that division, and I don't see him staying in there much longer. So give me that fight. I think that's a good entry fight.
No, I agree with all those picks. Shakur Stevenson, I actually wrote an article on 33podcast.com, like going over what should be next for him. And looking at that division, like you're right. He could go after trying to become undisputed at super featherweight, but the other champions don't have resumes that really stand out to you and make you want to say, oh, I want to watch this fight with those other champions. So he moves up to 135. I think Team Garcia is not going to do it. I see Shakur Stevenson destroying Ryan Garcia. I'm not a believer in the hype of Ryan Garcia at all. But like you said, it would be a perfect pay per view fight. He does have a huge following. It can make that happen. I would love to see Shakur Stevenson versus Tank versus Javante Davis. I think that would be a huge fight, big following. But again, does Team Davis want to have that fight against Stevenson? I can see Stevenson being one of the most avoided fighters over the next few years, where we see him trying to make fights happen and excuses out the woo wah going to be coming why why they don't want to fight Shakur Stevenson. So It's going to be tough for him to get those big time fights. One that should be easy to make though, him, Vasily Lomachenko, both at Top Rank under the ESPN umbrella. Make that fight happen. Lomachenko was supposed to fight against George Kambosos because of the issue in Ukraine. He was out of that fight. Make this fight happen. Lomachenko beat Shakur Stevenson. He's right back in the lightweight title picture. I think that should be a good fight to make.
Hell yeah, I love all of that. And real random side note, I know this fight, all boxing fans are gonna hear me say this and be like, "Oh, how dare you!" Shakur Stevenson versus Devin Haney is a
Ooh,
stylistic matchup that I will pay so much money to watch. Not because it's like the most exciting fight; it's
yeah,
gonna
chess
be
match.
the most boring championship fight. But
Yeah,
because of the fact that they're both so special at that style
yeah,
against each other. I think it'll look like a mirror match in the most bizarre ways. So, uh,
yeah.
random stuff there, but awesome stuff nonetheless. Last thing I'll ask you on boxing before we close it out here. Um, this one's a little bit left field, but how do you think the George Kambosos versus Devin Haney fight plays out? And what's sort of the next title fight? Because I know everyone's trying to put Lomachenko in that spot, but that division is deep. You could honestly go in either direction and come out with a good fight.
Yeah, now you can go anywhere. Lomachenko definitely is in line since he was the one that was actually originally signed to fight Kambosos. So he probably would most likely be the one that would get the shot against the winner. With this fight, man, it's very interesting because Kambosos is really good at punching in between combos. That's how he got Teofimo. Teofimo was coming, trying to get a knockout, and he'll wait to the perfect moment in between the combinations to hit Teofimo Lopez. Haney's not going to give you those opportunities. Like you mentioned earlier, he's got a very strict discipline style where he'll throw some combinations, but he knows exactly what he's doing. When he throws three punches, he knows to throw those three punches and get out of there, right? So it's going to be interesting to see if Kambosos can get to Haney because Haney is the longer fighter. I think Haney wins by decision in a very entertaining fight. So I'm going Haney. I'm going to go unanimous decision, but a good fight.
Awesome. And shout out to Damien. Please check out his stuff. We're gonna have him plug his stuff again later. But every single time, I don't go to ESPN. I don't go to Bleacher Report to get my scores. I swear, I go to check out what your scores are. Because a lot of the times, even in matches where I'm a little biased, you throw up your scorecard, and I'm like, that's probably closer to reality than it is. Real quick, also wanted to mention the corruption in boxing is absolutely fucking disgusting. And I'm gonna end on this because this is a conversation that happens every single year, but I don't care. I'll do it again. Number one pound for pound Canelo, yeah, he lost that fight. But if you ask anyone, it's like, okay, well, he lost. He lost by decision. So how are you complaining? How are they corrupt? There's no way he won 4 rounds, and they gave him way more than that.
Yeah,
So I don't care if he ended up being the right side of that decision, is still corrupt. Like, open your eyes, regardless of what you expect to happen. Like, I think a lot of great champions on both sides of this coin, uh, when people are having good success, people overrate that success. And that's something that we saw in the Amanda Taylor, Amanda Serrano, Katie Taylor fight.
mm,
When there was those moments of success, it becomes like, oh well, they were clearly winning. No, they weren't. They had the bigger
yeah,
moments. They had the bigger, more explosive time. But that doesn't mean that just because they got a big moment against someone that they shouldn't be winning against, that they
yeah,
automatically won every round. That wasn't the case for that fight. I There's a real argument that he won. I could say even as high as 10, but let's lean towards 9.
yeah,
I think that's more realistic. So just a tough situation to and really leaves a bad taste in my mouth about boxing in general, because if there's
yeah,
so much things in the air already to get to get to the point where we get these fights, and
yeah,
then all across the board y'all all got this shit wrong. Like, there's not one person that got an accurate scorecard for what the fight we actually watched.
yeah.
It's just people get way too much respect in boxing, and I don't understand it.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. When I saw the scorecards 115, 113 across the board, I was like, really? And the thing is,
Yep.
I scored it 116, 112, and even my scorecard, I was like, probably was a little light on what it should have been for Bivol. And when they showed the official scores, all three judges gave Canelo the first 4 rounds, which is outrageous because the first round, Canelo barely threw a punch. He couldn't get anything in because Bivol just kept a jab in his face the whole time, and he was trying to figure out what was going on. I could see the second round going to Canelo, but then the third round is when Bivol really that's the round where people was like, oh, this might not go Canelo's way. That's the round that kind of opened people's eyes up, like, oh, Bivol's not backing down. He's coming forward. You can see the size difference in that round. So for them to give rounds 1 and 3 to Canelo is pure corruption. There's no way you was watching that fight and thought he won those 2 rounds. Now rounds 2 and 4, I can see. Round 5, I can see, but no way 1 and 3 you can give to Canelo. So they were trying their hardest, it seems like, to make this a draw, but they couldn't do it because that 12th round, Bivol came back out and just dominated Canelo in that 12th round. So yeah, it definitely needs to be changed. When I first noticed it, Floyd Mayweather beats the brakes off Canelo, right? For 12 rounds, just outclassed him. And one of the judges scored it a draw. I think people forget that. One of the judges scored it a draw in that fight. And Floyd might have won all 12 rounds of that fight. Like, it wasn't close at all. I think I went back and watched it like last year just bored one day. And Canelo might have won 1 round. Might have won 1. Like, if you're being nice. Like, it was that dominant, and someone scored it a draw. So there's been something with Canelo for a while, and I get he's a huge draw. So they want to keep that winning train going. But the thing is, if it's a good fight and he loses a good fight, he's still going to be drawing. Like, if he fights Triple G next or whoever next, and that's going to be a big draw regardless because he has the support. We saw with Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao took all those L's, but still had all that support because he was Manny Pacquiao. Canelo's reached that point where he can take an L and still be good. So we need to get that out of boxing for sure. I don't know how we do it though, right? And even I looked into being a judge, but if I was a judge, I couldn't do this. Like, I couldn't be on podcast stuff like that. So I'm like, I can't do that. Like, I can't give this up. But we need to find judges who are going to be impartial and not be able to be bought. I don't know what exactly happens behind the scenes. Hopefully we get that story one day of who is behind the scenes trying to pay off the judges or what's going on. But I remember seeing majority decision for Floyd Mayweather because somebody scored a draw, thinking, how? Who paid off this judge to do that? Somebody had to, because there was no way they saw it that way. And I'm not saying it's Canelo himself. He's a very prideful dude. I'm pretty sure he would never ask for that because he seems like somebody who wants to beat you fair and square. Like, he's a very prideful guy. But something's going on for sure behind the scenes with him, for sure.
Definitely.
I wonder how much they get.
He's like, I'm going to be a judge now.
It makes sense why they take those bribes because they don't get shit for being a judge. Like, let's make that shit clear. It makes sense. It makes sense.
Yeah.
And obviously that's all speculation. There's no, if there was a paper trail, those people would be in jail. But it makes sense. It makes sense. And like you said, it's not just this one or the Canelo one. Like, it's also the Triple G ones. Like, everything. This has followed Canelo's career for a really long time now, and it's just sort of accepted because he has the status that he does. But this is an issue across all combat sports, in my opinion. And I don't think there's more. I don't think there's a lot of people that lead on the side of corruption when it comes to MMA. But I think there's just a lot of education that needs to happen, and a lot of people that are really serious about doing this the right way. And the only way to make that happen is if they invest into that. So I think in both sports, commission wide, like, this is something that needs to be invested in properly so that it's actually a lucrative thing to pursue. And that'll make the people that are in those seats have a little bit more pride in what the fuck they're doing too. But either way, no matter how corrupt it gets, I'll be fucking tuning in and screaming. So, hey, gotta get what you could get. Shout out to sorry we put you in that spot, Derrick, but we had to nerd out for a good 25. No. It's only right.
Listen, I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem with it. I know how to. It's like I told you before. It's like playing basketball. You gotta play your role, right?
Yeah.
I know. I can't talk boxing. I can watch it. I can't talk about it because I don't know the ins and outs like y'all. So hey, I'm gonna be quiet.
No, it's all good. It's all good.
That's it. That's my role. That's my role when we talk about boxing. Be quiet.
Yes, sir.
I'll set you up.
I love it. I love it. And I just want to say thank you guys. This show is awesome. Please now make sure that you let them know where they could find your content on all platforms. And let's start off with you, Derek, because I already know it's only right to rep, baby.
All right. Well, yeah, you can follow me at Derrick underscore OTS, but please follow the brand at OTS Media Co. All social media platforms. You can catch us on YouTube, OTS Media, but otsmediaco.com. Check out the website. You can get some new articles. Check out all the shows there, and find out a little bit more about us. You got a lot of stuff on there, so please let us know what you guys think. Rate, review. We love being able to get that feedback from the show, with every show, but specifically this one. And please, we need that. We need that feedback. So that's all I got for you.
Go ahead, Damien.
All right, before I shout out my shows, man, I gotta give a shout out to Chris. Like, I'm new into my UFC fandom, so listening to
Yeah.
the MMA archive has really opened my eyes to more stuff about the sport, and as far as just knowing who to look for and what to look back at. Like, I'm going now and watching old Tony Ferguson fights because Chris went on this
Yeah.
super long soliloquy about Tony Ferguson. So I was like, man, I gotta go back and watch these two fights for sure, man. And I'm sorry that happened to him. I know that probably hurt you to your soul, seeing what happened on Saturday. But for me, you can follow me on social media at the Real Deal WDA. That's the Real Deal, W as in whiskey, D as in Delta, A as in Alpha. Catch a lot of my content on there. I'm constantly dropping like little short videos here and there about different things. I'll do my Real Deal bets videos. Today was not the best day so far, as far as my bets on my NBA bets, but that's fine. You're gonna have some tough days sometimes, but most days my Real Deal bets come through. My podcast is called The Real Deal with Damian Adams. On that podcast, I talk boxing, also talk football and basketball as well, NFL, NBA on that podcast. And I have another one called The Third and Three podcast I do live on Facebook every Wednesday at 7 o'clock Eastern time. We talk football, but it goes everywhere. Like, we literally had a 20-minute discussion about the show The Ultimatum on Netflix last week. So it can go literally. Yeah, our podcast can go anywhere, man. So I have a little something for everybody. So please just follow me on social media and you'll have access to all the things that I do. And thank you guys again for having me on, man. It was so much fun.
For sure. Anytime, bro.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for the shout out, man. It feels really good to get that love. So thank you, and thank you to everyone that's been showing us that love too. I still can't believe that I am literally a couple of followers away from 300 on Twitter. It's been awesome, just the journey, and I feel like there's a lot of growth to be had still, and I just can't believe I'm very humbled. Whenever I do this, I'm like, man, people actually give a shit. It's crazy. But I'm loving this, man. Thank you for anyone watching. Make sure you reach out to your favorite content creator. Let them know how much you care, because trust me, it'll make their fucking day. And I really appreciate everyone that's done that for me. So please extend that same love for those that you fuck with. And the offer's still there, baby. Nobody's ever took me up on it. If someone sends me the proof that they gave us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts, I will send you money. There's no bullshit. I will cash app you bread straight to the account. Like, all I need is that screenshot. So please send that over. And once again, just thank you so much for the support. Make sure you tell your friends, tell a friend to tell a friend, and most importantly, don't forget, because we almost forgot about
Oh,
the most important thing, and that's your underwear, people. Listen, I know it's
yes.
hard. I know it's hard to come to grips with the fact that your underwear is trash. As a grown man, if you think it's cool still to be out here with those plaid boxers that are so grainy that if you scratch
Ugh.
up against them, it sounds like a record just scratched. If you put on your jeans, they're lifting up higher than your waistline. Please save yourself, brother. I don't care what era it was. I don't care if you sag your pants. Boxers have not been the way for at least 7 years. So please get on the brief game. Get on the number one champs boxers. They got the best briefs in the game. It'll whisk away all the sweat from your lovely parts, no matter who you are, men, women, or child. Make sure you get yourself some number one champs boxers.
Yeah, man. They got great prints and shout out to Champ Number One Boxers. They actually they're the first brand to rock with us as a brand. So it's a great thing to see. So yeah, shout out to them. They're a black owned company that's down here in Atlanta. So I know I got my stuff pretty fast. That came in like 2 days, so I didn't expect that. So you get quality boxers and get them on time. So they'll beat anything you got at the house.
Yes, sir. Well, all right,
Yes,
just
sir.
like that, I think we're all wrapped up. Thank you so much for
Yes,
tuning
definitely.
in. Thank you for sticking
Yes,
around
sir.
this long. That's the most important thing.
Oh yeah.
And this was fucking awesome, man. Can't wait to do it again next week, every fucking week. Y'all have a good
Yes,
one.
sir.
Peace.